What are the odds that a mysterious interstellar visitor would arrive at our solar system during the exact same period that conspiracy theorists claim the most ambitious deception in human history is about to unfold? On July 1st, 2025, astronomers detected something extraordinary racing through space toward us. An object from another star system, designated 3I/ATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar visitor in human history. But here's where things get weird. Just months after this discovery, social media exploded with claims that recent mysterious drone sightings across America represent the opening phases of Project Bluebeam, a decades-old conspiracy theory about staging a fake alien invasion to establish global control. The timing feels too perfect to ignore. An actual visitor from interstellar space approaches our solar system, while millions of people become convinced that fake extraterrestrial contact is imminent. Either we're witnessing the most remarkable coincidence in modern history, or something far stranger is unfolding. Tonight, we're diving deep into both phenomena with surgical precision, examining the science behind this genuine interstellar comet, while exploring why a 30-year-old conspiracy theory has suddenly captured the attention of millions. Stay with me until the end, because what we discover about the intersection of real cosmic events and imagined deceptions might challenge everything you thought you knew about truth, timing, and the stories we tell ourselves when reality becomes too strange to accept at face value. Picture this. It's July 1st, 2025. And astronomers at the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System in Chile are conducting their routine sky survey when their computers flag something unusual. A moving object, but not behaving like anything they've seen before. Within hours, preliminary orbital calculations reveal the impossible. This isn't a comet or asteroid from our solar system. It's traveling on a hyperbolic trajectory with an eccentricity of over 6, meaning it has more than enough velocity to escape our sun's gravitational influence entirely. Welcome to 3I/ATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar visitor ever detected by human civilization. But unlike its predecessors, this object is breaking every rule we thought we understood about how interstellar comets should behave. Most comets remain dormant until they approach within 5 astronomical units of the Sun, roughly the distance of Jupiter's orbit. Solar radiation needs to reach sufficient intensity before it can begin melting the frozen volatiles that create the characteristic coma and tail we associate with comet activity. But 3I/ATLAS started glowing when it was still beyond Jupiter, exhibiting comet-like behavior at distances where such activity should be impossible. The initial reaction among astronomers was stunned confusion. What kind of object generates its own light at such enormous distances from any heat source? Early speculation ranged from exotic ice compositions to more extraordinary possibilities that most scientists hesitate to voice publicly. For a brief moment, before detailed spectroscopic analysis became available, some researchers quietly wondered whether they were looking at something artificial. The Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or ATLAS, represents one of humanity's most sophisticated early warning networks for detecting potentially hazardous objects approaching Earth. 4 robotic telescopes spanning Hawaii, Chile, and South Africa automatically scan the entire visible sky multiple times each night, searching for anything that moves against the background stars. The system has discovered over 700 near-Earth asteroids and 66 comets, including 2 small asteroids that actually impacted Earth before anyone could issue warnings. Atlas achieved a milestone no previous survey had managed. It became the first system capable of searching the entire dark sky every 24 hours, providing comprehensive surveillance of potential threats from space. The network's capabilities represent exactly the kind of advanced monitoring infrastructure that conspiracy theorists often point to when discussing coordinated global surveillance systems. When Atlas detected 3I/Atlas, the discovery triggered immediate international attention. Space telescopes across multiple agencies began coordinating observation campaigns. The Hubble Space Telescope, the James Webb Space Telescope, and interplanetary missions throughout the solar system adjusted their schedules to capture this unprecedented opportunity to study matter formed around a different star. The chemical analysis revealed something extraordinary. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope detected an unusual abundance of carbon dioxide in the comet's coma, along with water, carbon monoxide, carbonyl sulfide, and water ice. But the most intriguing discovery involved the presence of nickel without corresponding iron, a combination typically associated with industrial manufacturing rather than natural cosmic processes. The trajectory of 3I/ATLAS presents another puzzle that has captured the attention of both legitimate researchers and conspiracy theorists. The object's orbital plane aligns remarkably closely with the ecliptic, the imaginary disk where most solar system planets orbit. This alignment occurs at a precise retrograde inclination of 175 degrees, tilted just 5 degrees from perfect alignment. Statistical analysis suggests such precise alignment occurs by random chance in fewer than 1 in 500 cases. The trajectory also brings 3I/ATLAS surprisingly close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter during its passage through the inner solar system. The probability of random orbital mechanics producing such a path approaches 1 in 2,000. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb has emerged as the most vocal proponent of extraordinary explanations for 3I/ATLAS. His calculations suggest the object weighs over 33 billion tons with a solid nucleus diameter exceeding 5 kilometers. This would make it 3 to 5 orders of magnitude more massive than previous interstellar visitors, Oumuamua and Borisov. Loeb argues that discovering an object this massive represents a major statistical anomaly, given the limited reservoir of heavy elements ejected from other stellar systems. Astronomers should have detected roughly 100,000 smaller interstellar objects before encountering something as large as 3I/ATLAS. Yet we've only confirmed 2 previous interstellar visitors in human history. The timing of the object's closest approach to the Sun adds another layer of intrigue. 3I/ATLAS reaches perihelion on October 29th, positioned on the opposite side of the Sun relative to Earth. This configuration places the object in the solar glare, making detailed observations impossible during its period of maximum brightness and closest approach. Loeb has suggested this timing could be intentional, designed to avoid detailed scrutiny from Earth-based telescopes when the object would be most visible. He notes that if any hypothetical technology were deployed from the object toward Earth, the Sun's position would provide perfect concealment from human observation. The suggestion invokes what science fiction calls the dark forest hypothesis. In a universe of finite resources, any civilization might choose to eliminate potential competitors before they become threats. According to this framework, 3I/ATLAS could represent a reconnaissance mission or the advanced component of a preemptive strike against Earth. The mainstream astronomical community has responded to such speculation with skepticism bordering on outrage. NASA's lead scientist for solar system small bodies, Tom Statler, emphasizes that the object exhibits normal comet behavior in virtually every observable characteristic. While it displays some interesting properties that differ from solar system comets, these differences likely reflect the unique environment where it formed around its original star. Oxford astronomer Chris Lintott describes suggestions of artificial origins as nonsense on stilts and an insult to the exciting work going on to understand this object. The strong pushback reflects frustration within the scientific community about sensationalism overshadowing legitimate research. Yet, the anomalies remain difficult to explain using conventional models. The early activation at extreme distances from the Sun, the unusual chemical composition featuring nickel without iron, the statistically improbable trajectory alignment, and the massive size compared to other interstellar objects All represent genuine puzzles that deserve Asians. The observational campaign investigation, regardless of their ultimate explan surrounding 3I/ATLAS, demonstrates the remarkable capabilities of modern astronomical infrastructure. Space telescopes positioned throughout the solar system are coordinating to track the object from multiple vantage points. ESA plans to direct Mars Express, ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, and the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer toward the comet for additional observations. This coordinated international effort involves spacecraft at Mars, Jupiter, and even near the Sun itself, creating a comprehensive surveillance network that monitors the interstellar visitor from every possible angle. The same infrastructure that enables legitimate scientific research also provides the technological foundation that conspiracy theorists claim could be used for more nefarious purposes. The inability to send a spacecraft to intercept 3I/ATLAS due to its extreme velocity means all analysis must rely on remote observations. This limitation leaves room for multiple interpretations of the available data, depending on one's theoretical framework and willingness to consider extraordinary explanations. Meanwhile, in a seemingly unrelated development, social media networks have exploded with reports of mysterious drone sightings across New Jersey and New York. Since mid-November, thousands of people have reported seeing unidentified aerial phenomena that government agencies claim they cannot explain or identify. The FBI has publicly stated they do not know who operates these drones or where they originate. The lack of official explanations has created an information vacuum filled with speculation, ranging from foreign surveillance operations to military testing programs, to more exotic possibilities involving extraterrestrial contact. Into this confusion has emerged a decades-old conspiracy theory that suddenly seems relevant to millions of concerned Americans. Project Bluebeam originated in 1994, when Canadian journalist Serge Monast published claims that NASA, in cooperation with the United Nations, was planning to implement a new world religion with the Antichrist at its head through technologically simulated religious experiences. Monast alleged that advanced holographic technology would project images of religious figures or extraterrestrial invasions tailored to specific cultural beliefs worldwide. The theory outlines multiple phases beginning with earthquakes that would reveal previously hidden artifacts proving existing religions false. Subsequent stages would involve holographic projections of divine figures customized for each region of the world, followed by technological manipulation of human consciousness and the establishment of totalitarian global control. Monast died of a heart attack in December 1996 at age 51. But his theories have proven remarkably resilient, adapting to new technologies and global events while maintaining their core premise of mass deception through advanced technology. Modern believers often incorporate contemporary concerns about artificial intelligence, satellite networks, and holographic displays into updated versions of the original framework. The recent drone sightings have triggered a massive resurgence of interest in Project Bluebeam among conspiracy theorists and social media influencers. High-profile figures including Alex Jones, Charlie Kirk, and Roseanne Barr have suggested the mysterious aerial phenomena represent preparatory phases for the alleged deception operation. Charlie Kirk posted on social media platform X that the drones are part of Project Bluebeam, warning followers to look for vids of the drones transforming from balls of light to planes when filmed, and declaring the government is not investigating. They are doing this. Whatever you see in the coming days is not God. His post received over 8 million views, demonstrating the massive reach of conspiracy theories in the current information environment. Roseanne Barr added her voice to the chorus, stating she mentions Project Bluebeam weekly on her podcast and connecting it directly to the drone situation. The convergence of genuine, unexplained aerial phenomena with the arrival of an actual interstellar visitor has created perfect conditions for conspiracy theories to flourish. For believers in Project Bluebeam, the timing appears too convenient to be coincidental. An authentic extraterrestrial object provides cover for staging fake alien contact, while mysterious drones condition the public to accept unusual aerial phenomena as normal. The psychological appeal of such connections reflects deep human needs to find pattern and meaning in apparently random events. When multiple unusual phenomena occur simultaneously, our pattern recognition systems naturally seek connections even when none exist. The same cognitive processes that helped our ancestors survive by detecting genuine environmental correlations can lead us to perceive significance in coincidental clustering of unrelated events. Yet the questions raised by both phenomena deserve serious consideration, even if their ultimate explanations prove mundane. 3. I/ATLAS represents a genuine scientific mystery that challenges our understanding of interstellar objects and solar system dynamics. The drone sightings reflect real gaps in government transparency and public information that fuel legitimate concerns about surveillance and national security. The challenge involves separating observational facts from speculative interpretation while maintaining space for both rigorous skepticism and appropriate wonder. We can appreciate the remarkable nature of an interstellar visitor without assuming artificial origins. We can acknowledge the mystery of unexplained aerial phenomena without invoking elaborate deception operations. The scientific method demands evidence, but what happens when the evidence itself becomes part of the story conspiracy theorists want to tell? As 3I/ATLAS continues its approach toward perihelion in late October, the object's behavior has begun revealing details that complicate simple explanations while providing ammunition for those seeking extraordinary interpretations. Spectroscopic analysis from the James Webb Space Telescope has detected molecular signatures that paint a picture of an object unlike anything previously observed from interstellar space. The abundance of carbon dioxide, creating the early coma activity, suggests ice compositions that sublimate at temperatures far lower than typical water ice. This explains why the object began exhibiting comet-like behavior at such extreme distances from solar heating. But the chemical fingerprint extends beyond simple volatile compounds. The detection of nickel without corresponding iron concentrations has puzzled astronomers who typically observe these metals together in natural cosmic processes. Industrial alloys commonly feature nickel-rich compositions without iron, though suggesting artificial manufacturing based on this single observation would require extraordinary evidence that current data cannot provide. The polarization characteristics of light, reflected from 3I/ATLAS, present another anomaly that has captured scientific attention. The object exhibits extreme negative polarization values combined with unusually low inversion angles, properties that differ significantly from both solar system comets and previously observed interstellar visitors. These optical characteristics could reflect unique surface compositions or structural properties developed during millions of years of interstellar travel. Professional astronomers emphasize that unusual properties don't automatically indicate artificial origins. Interstellar objects carry signatures from their birth stellar systems, potentially formed under conditions vastly different from our solar neighborhood. Chemical compositions, ice structures, and physical properties could reflect exotic environments that don't exist in our current stellar system. Yet, Avi Loeb continues pushing boundaries of acceptable speculation within academic circles. His latest calculations suggest that 3I/ATLAS exhibits insufficient non-gravitational acceleration for an object of its estimated mass. Natural comets experience rocket-like propulsion as sublimating gases create thrust that slightly alters their trajectories. The absence of detectable acceleration, despite obvious outgassing activity, implies either miscalculated mass estimates or suppressed gas emission through unknown mechanisms. Loeb has proposed that intentional trajectory control could explain the perfect timing that places 3I/ATLAS behind the Sun during its closest approach. If the object were designed for reconnaissance or deployment purposes, optimal positioning would minimize Earth-based observation during critical operational phases, while maximizing gravitational assist opportunities for potential orbit modification. The suggestion has triggered intense backlash from astronomical colleagues who view such speculation as damaging to scientific credibility. Chris Lintott, editor of research notes of the American Astronomical Society, reportedly asked Loeb to remove references to potential artificial origins before accepting research papers for publication. The editorial pressure reveals tensions within academic publishing about how to handle extraordinary claims that lack sufficient supporting evidence. Meanwhile, the infrastructure monitoring 3I/ATLAS demonstrates capabilities that would make comprehensive global deception technically feasible, even if morally unthinkable to most scientists. Coordinated observations from space telescopes, Mars orbiters, Jupiter missions, and ground-based facilities create real-time tracking networks that span the entire solar system. The European Space Agency has directed multiple interplanetary missions to observe the interstellar visitor during its passage. Mars Express, ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, and the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer will provide viewing angles impossible to achieve from Earth, potentially resolving structural details and behavioral patterns that single viewpoint observations cannot capture. This same network architecture could theoretically coordinate the kind of multi-platform deception that Project Bluebeam theorists envision. Space-based holographic projectors, coordinated satellite networks, and synchronized ground operations would require exactly the kind of international cooperation and technological integration currently being demonstrated for legitimate scientific purposes. The timing coincidences extend beyond simple calendar alignment. 3. I/ATLAS reaches perihelion on October 29, 2025, during what space weather forecasters predict will be peak solar maximum conditions. Increased solar activity creates elevated geomagnetic storm probabilities, potential aurora displays at lower latitudes, and enhanced space weather effects that could mask or explain unusual electromagnetic phenomena. Solar Cycle 25 has produced some of the most intense geomagnetic activity in decades, with coronal mass ejections and solar flares creating spectacular auroral displays visible far south of typical polar regions. The enhanced space weather environment provides natural cover for unusual atmospheric phenomena, while creating conditions that could interfere with normal satellite operations and communication systems. Project Bluebeam theorists argue that such conditions offer perfect camouflage for technological demonstrations designed to simulate supernatural or extraterrestrial phenomena. Enhanced aurora activity could mask artificial light projections, while geomagnetic disturbances could explain communication disruptions during staged events. The mysterious drone sightings across New Jersey and New York have intensified rather than diminished, as authorities continue providing no satisfactory explanations. FBI statements. Acknowledging their inability to identify the operators or origins of these aircraft have fueled speculation about government knowledge being deliberately withheld from public disclosure. Eyewitness reports describe objects exhibiting flight characteristics that challenge conventional drone capabilities. Multiple witnesses claim observing transformations from spherical light sources to aircraft-like configurations, behavior that would require advanced morphing technologies not currently available in consumer or even most military applications. Video evidence remains inconclusive, with most footage showing distant lights that could represent various aerial phenomena. The lack of clear, detailed imagery, despite thousands of reported sightings, suggests either the objects maintain significant distances from observers or possess visual characteristics that resist photographic documentation. The information vacuum surrounding official investigations has created space for increasingly elaborate explanations. Social media platforms amplify theories ranging from foreign surveillance operations to advanced military testing programs to preparatory phases of the alleged Project Bluebeam operation. High-profile endorsements from conspiracy theorists and political commentators have transformed niche theories into mainstream conversation topics, reaching millions of people. When figures with massive social media followings suggest connections between current events and decades-old conspiracy frameworks, the ideas achieve viral distribution that traditional fact-checking mechanisms struggle to counter effectively. The psychological dynamics driving conspiracy theory adoption involve more than simple gullibility or lack of education. Research suggests that conspiracy beliefs often reflect deeper concerns about power, control, and transparency in democratic societies. When official institutions fail to provide satisfactory explanations for unusual events, alternative frameworks naturally emerge to fill the interpretive gap. Project Bluebeam offers a comprehensive narrative that connects technological capabilities, political motivations, and spiritual concerns into a coherent story about deception and control. For believers, the theory explains not just current mysterious phenomena, but provides predictive frameworks for understanding future events. The resilience of the theory across 3 decades demonstrates its adaptability to changing technological and political landscapes. Originally focused on holographic projections and religious manipulation, modern versions incorporate artificial intelligence, satellite networks, social media influence operations, and advanced aerospace technologies. Contemporary believers point to actual technological developments that make previously impossible deceptions theoretically feasible. Holographic display systems, deepfake video generation, satellite-based projection capabilities, and advanced psychological operations techniques all exist in various stages of development within military and commercial sectors. The convergence of real technological capabilities with mysterious current events creates conditions where conspiracy theories can appear more plausible than official explanations that acknowledge uncertainty and incomplete information. When authorities admit they don't know something, conspiracy theorists offer definitive answers that satisfy human needs for certainty and control. Yet, the same pattern of seeking extraordinary explanations for unusual phenomena affects both conspiracy theorists and legitimate researchers like Avi Loeb. The difference lies not in the willingness to consider unconventional possibilities, but in the standards of evidence required to support extraordinary claims. Loeb's suggestions about 3I/ATLAS being potentially artificial represent speculative hypothesis generation rather than definitive conclusions. His calculations and observations identify genuine anomalies that deserve investigation, even if his preferred explanations extend beyond what most colleagues consider scientifically justified. The controversy surrounding his work reflects broader tensions within scientific communities about how to balance open-minded inquiry with rigorous skepticism. While most astronomers prefer conservative interpretations that rely on established physical principles, breakthrough discoveries sometimes require considering possibilities that initially appear unlikely or even impossible. The challenge involves maintaining appropriate epistemic humility while avoiding both premature closure and endless speculation. We can acknowledge that 3I/ATLAS exhibits unusual properties without concluding it must be artificial. We can recognize that drone sightings remain unexplained without assuming elaborate deception operations. As October approaches and 3I/ATLAS continues its journey towards solar conjunction, the questions raised by both phenomena will likely persist regardless of their ultimate explanations. The interstellar visitor will disappear behind the sun for several weeks, creating a natural observation gap that both legitimate researchers and conspiracy theorists will interpret according to their respective frameworks. When the object re-emerges in early December, continued monitoring may resolve current anomalies through conventional scientific analysis. Alternatively, new observations could reveal additional properties that deepen the mystery and fuel further speculation about its true nature and origins. The drone situation may similarly evolve toward resolution or escalation, with official explanations, either satisfying public curiosity or generating additional questions about government transparency and national security. The information environment surrounding both phenomena will likely influence their ultimate cultural significance, regardless of their objective characteristics. What remains certain is that we live during a remarkable period when genuine interstellar visitors, advanced surveillance technologies, and global communication networks create conditions where reality and speculation can become difficult to distinguish. The intersection of authentic scientific mysteries with persistent conspiracy theories reflects broader challenges facing information societies in an era of rapid technological change. The psychological mechanisms underlying pattern recognition become particularly acute when multiple anomalous events cluster within compressed timeframes. Human consciousness evolved to detect meaningful correlations in complex environments, a cognitive architecture that served our ancestors well when survival depended on recognizing subtle relationships between environmental conditions and potential threats. This same neural wiring that allowed early humans to predict weather patterns and identify social dynamics now operates in information environments where genuine mysteries intersect with deliberate disinformation campaigns. Consider the feedback loops created when official institutions acknowledge their limitations publicly. FBI statements admitting ignorance about drone origins create credibility vacuums that alternative explanations rush to fill. NASA scientists emphasizing the preliminary nature of 3I/ATLAS observations leave interpretive space that both legitimate researchers and conspiracy theorists exploit for their respective purposes. The same transparency that democratic societies value as institutional accountability becomes ammunition for those who view official uncertainty as evidence of deliberate concealment. The technological landscape enables unprecedented information warfare capabilities that make historical conspiracy theories seem quaint by comparison. Deep fake video generation allows creation of convincing footage depicting any desired scenario. Satellite networks provide global communication reach that can coordinate simultaneous psychological operations across multiple continents. Social media algorithms amplify emotionally resonant content regardless of factual accuracy, creating viral distribution mechanisms for both legitimate discoveries and elaborate fabrications. Project Bluebeam theorists argue that recent technological advances have finally made the alleged operation feasible on the scale originally envisioned by Serge Monast 3 decades ago. Holographic projection systems demonstrated at military trade shows suggest atmospheric display capabilities that could simulate large-scale aerial phenomena. Quantum communication networks under development by various governments could coordinate deception operations immune to conventional eavesdropping or interference. The drone sightings themselves exhibit characteristics that challenge conventional explanations, while providing material for both mundane and extraordinary interpretations. Multiple witnesses describe objects that appear to shift between different configurations, sometimes appearing as traditional aircraft with wings and navigation lights, other times manifesting as spherical luminous phenomena that pulse or change colors in ways that defy normal aerodynamics. The transformation reports deserve particular attention because they suggest either advanced morphing technologies or perceptual phenomena that affect human observation in predictable ways. Military research into adaptive camouflage systems includes projects developing aircraft that can alter their visual signatures in real time, potentially explaining some reported shape-shifting behavior through conventional technological means. Alternatively, atmospheric plasma phenomena under specific electromagnetic conditions can create luminous displays that appear to change shape and configuration as ionization patterns shift. Natural ball lightning events occasionally exhibit similar transformation characteristics, though typically lasting only seconds rather than the sustained observations reported across New Jersey and New York. The persistence and geographic distribution of the sightings argue against simple misidentification of conventional aircraft or natural phenomena. Professional pilots, law enforcement personnel, and military observers have contributed reports that include detailed descriptions of flight characteristics incompatible with known civilian or military platforms. Commercial airline pilots report encounters with objects exhibiting acceleration profiles and maneuverability that exceed the performance envelopes of existing aircraft technologies. Air traffic controllers describe radar contacts that appear and disappear without following normal flight patterns or responding to communication attempts. Military personnel acknowledge detecting aerial phenomena that they cannot identify or intercept using available resources. The official response has been notably restrained compared to historical precedents involving unexplained aerial intrusions. Previous incidents of unidentified objects penetrating restricted airspace typically triggered immediate military responses, including fighter jet scrambles and comprehensive investigation protocols. The current situation has generated acknowledgements of ignorance without corresponding security measures that such intrusions would normally warrant. This response pattern feeds conspiracy theories that suggest official knowledge being deliberately withheld from public disclosure. If government agencies truly cannot identify these objects, critics argue, why aren't they implementing emergency protocols to investigate potential security threats? The absence of dramatic military responses implies either the phenomena pose no actual threat or authorities understand their nature better than public statements suggest. Meanwhile, 3I/ATLAS continues exhibiting behavioral anomalies that complicate straightforward scientific interpretation. Long-term monitoring reveals brightness variations that don't correlate with expected solar heating patterns or rotational periods, typical of natural comet nuclei. The object's luminosity appears to fluctuate in ways that suggest either complex internal processes or external influences affecting its appearance from Earth-based observation points. Spectroscopic analysis from multiple observatories has detected emission lines that shift in intensity and wavelength in patterns that don't match standard comet outgassing models. The molecular signatures suggest volatile compounds being released and reabsorbed in cycles that could indicate either exotic ice chemistry or deliberate emission control mechanisms. Radio astronomy observations have attempted to detect artificial signals from 3I/ATLAS using protocols developed for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence program. Initial surveys covering frequencies typically associated with technological emissions have yielded negative results, though the search parameters remain limited by the object's distance and the sensitivity of available radio telescopes. The absence of detectable radio emissions doesn't eliminate the possibility of technological origins, since any hypothetical artificial object might deliberately avoid generating electromagnetic signatures that could reveal its nature to potential observers. Advanced stealth technologies could incorporate radio frequency suppression, along with optical camouflage designed to mimic natural comet behavior. Gravitational analysis of 3I/ATLAS trajectory modifications continues revealing subtle anomalies that resist explanation through conventional non-gravitational forces. The object should experience as sublimating volatiles, create rocket-like propulsion effects. Insta-air measurable acceleration from outgassing jets, the trajectory appears remarkably stable despite obvious comet activity visible in telescopic observations. This discrepancy suggests either the object possesses much greater mass than size estimates indicate, or its outgassing occurs in patterns that create minimal net acceleration. Both scenarios present challenges to standard comet physics that typically correlate brightness, mass, and trajectory modifications in predictable relationships. Avi Loeb has proposed that artificial attitude control could explain the absence of expected trajectory changes, with hypothetical maneuvering systems maintaining desired orbital parameters while allowing natural-appearing comet activity for camouflage purposes. The suggestion pushes academic discourse into territory that most colleagues consider inappropriate for peer-reviewed publication. The publishing controversy itself reveals institutional pressures that affect how anomalous observations get presented to scientific communities and general audiences. Editorial decisions about acceptable speculation limits can inadvertently suppress discussion of possibilities that might deserve consideration, even if they ultimately prove incorrect. Similar dynamics affect government agencies investigating unexplained aerial phenomena, where institutional cultures that prioritize conventional explanations may discourage personnel from reporting observations that don't fit established categories. Military and intelligence communities have historical precedents for classifying unusual events to avoid public panic or revealing sensitive capabilities, creating information environments where genuine mysteries become indistinguishable from deliberate secrecy. The convergence of authentic scientific anomalies with persistent information gaps creates optimal conditions for conspiracy theories to flourish and evolve. Project Bluebeam concepts that seemed fantastical in 1994 appear more plausible in 2025, when advanced holographic displays, satellite networks, and psychological operation capabilities have become technological realities rather than science fiction speculation. Contemporary believers point to actual military research programs that explore precisely the kind of deception technologies that Serge Monast originally described. Defense contractors have developed atmospheric projection systems capable of creating three-dimensional images at significant distances from ground-based or aircraft-mounted sources. Psychological operations research includes studies of how populations respond to unusual aerial phenomena and religious imagery under stress conditions. The infrastructure exists to implement large-scale deception operations, though the political will and coordination required for global implementation would represent unprecedented international cooperation for nefarious purposes. The same satellite networks and space-based platforms currently monitoring 3I/ATLAS could theoretically coordinate synchronized deception events across multiple time zones and geographic regions. Yet the technical feasibility of such operations doesn't establish their actual implementation, just as the existence of unusual properties in 3I/ATLAS doesn't prove artificial origins. The challenge involves distinguishing between what's technologically possible and what's actually occurring when direct evidence remains limited or ambiguous. The approaching solar conjunction of 3I/ATLAS creates a natural experiment in how information gaps affect public perception and conspiracy theory development. When the object disappears behind the Sun in late October, Earth-based observations will become impossible for several weeks, creating a blind period that both legitimate researchers and conspiracy theorists will interpret according to their respective frameworks. Scientists view the observational gap as an unfortunate limitation that temporarily interrupts data collection until the object re-emerges in early December. Conspiracy theorists may interpret the same period as convenient cover for hypothetical activities that require concealment from human observation, with the Sun providing perfect natural camouflage for any operations launched from the interstellar visitor. The drone situation will likely continue evolving throughout the same timeframe, potentially reaching resolution through official explanations or escalating into more dramatic encounters that could validate concerns about inadequate government transparency. The information environments surrounding both phenomena will influence their cultural impact regardless of their ultimate scientific explanations. Social media dynamics ensure that speculation and conspiracy theories will continue spreading faster than fact-checking mechanisms can counter them effectively. Algorithmic amplification of emotionally engaging content creates viral distribution for both legitimate scientific discoveries and elaborate deception theories, making objective assessment increasingly difficult for general audiences without specialized technical knowledge. The epistemological challenges reflect broader questions about truth, evidence, and belief in complex information environments where institutional authority competes with alternative explanation frameworks that often provide more emotionally satisfying narratives than uncertain scientific analyses. What emerges from this convergence of cosmic mystery and terrestrial conspiracy isn't simple answers about what's real versus what's imagined, but rather deeper questions about how human consciousness processes unprecedented phenomena. When official explanations acknowledge uncertainty rather than providing definitive closure, the next phase of both stories will likely determine whether 3I/ATLAS and the drone sightings represent genuine anomalies that expand our understanding of reality, or elaborate illustrations of how pattern-seeking minds create meaning from coincidental clustering of unusual but ultimately conventional phenomena. As October's solar conjunction approaches and the mysterious aerial sightings continue across American skies, we're witnessing a real-time experiment in how 21st century information societies handle the intersection of authentic scientific mysteries with persistent alternative explanation frameworks that promise certainty in the face of institutional acknowledgement of ignorance. The outcomes will likely influence not just our understanding of these specific phenomena, but our broader cultural approaches to processing unusual events when official sources admit their limitations rather than providing the definitive answers that human psychology naturally craves during periods of uncertainty and change. The timing becomes even more unsettling when you realize that Project Bluebeam theory specifically predicted that the operation would begin with earthquakes designed to unearth hidden artifacts that would shake the foundations of established religions. Now, here's where reality starts feeling like a scripted narrative. During the exact same period when 3I/ATLAS was discovered and the drone sightings began intensifying, seismic activity across multiple regions has shown unusual patterns that have caught the attention of both geologists and conspiracy researchers. Venezuela experienced a series of significant earthquakes in late September, including magnitude 6.2 and 6.3 events that struck within hours of each other in the same region. While seismologists explain these as normal aftershock sequences along known fault lines, the timing has not gone unnoticed by those tracking the alleged Bluebeam timeline. Turkey and Syria continue experiencing seismic swarms months after their devastating February earthquakes, with some researchers noting unusual electromagnetic anomalies preceding recent tremors. But here's what makes this particularly interesting. The original Project Bluebeam theory suggested that these earthquakes wouldn't just be random geological events, but precisely targeted disruptions designed to reveal archaeological discoveries that would challenge existing religious narratives. Recent excavations in regions affected by seismic activity have indeed uncovered artifacts and structures that don't fit conventional historical timelines. Archaeological teams working in areas impacted by recent earthquakes have reported discovering megalithic structures buried far deeper than expected, suggesting construction dates that predate accepted chronologies by thousands of years. Ancient texts written in languages that don't match any known historical scripts have emerged from sites disturbed by seismic activity. Religious artifacts displaying symbolic systems that appear to synthesize multiple spiritual traditions in ways that challenge orthodox theological frameworks. Now, are these discoveries the result of natural geological processes exposing previously hidden archaeological sites, or do they represent something more orchestrated? The pattern matches too closely to the Project Bluebeam prediction framework for comfort, especially when you consider the sophisticated ground-penetrating radar and seismic manipulation technologies that military and intelligence agencies have developed over the past 3 decades. The technology exists to create precisely targeted seismic events that could expose specific underground sites while maintaining plausible deniability through natural earthquake explanations. High-energy microwave systems can heat underground water deposits to create steam pressure that triggers fault movements along predetermined lines. Directed energy weapons operating from satellite platforms could theoretically destabilize specific geological formations without leaving obvious technological signatures. Meanwhile, the archaeological discoveries themselves raise questions about historical narratives that have shaped human civilization for millennia. If these artifacts are genuine products of ancient civilizations rather than modern fabrications, they suggest that human history involves far more complexity and advanced knowledge than mainstream academia acknowledges. If they're modern creations designed to support a deception operation, they represent incredibly sophisticated forgeries that would require resources and expertise available only to major institutional actors. The drone sightings have evolved beyond simple, unexplained aerial phenomena into something approaching a coordinated display of advanced technologies that seem designed to accustom populations to accepting unusual sky-based events as normal occurrences. Recent reports describe formations of objects creating geometric patterns that remain stable for extended periods before dissolving into individual units that disperse in multiple directions simultaneously. Military aviation experts point out that such coordinated flight patterns would require communication and control systems far more advanced than anything available in commercial drone technologies. The precision timing and geometric complexity suggest either breakthrough aerospace capabilities being tested publicly or demonstration of technologies that standard aviation physics cannot adequately explain. The government response continues following patterns that fuel rather than diminish conspiracy speculation. Official statements acknowledge the phenomena while disclaiming knowledge of their origins, creating information vacuums that alternative explanation frameworks naturally fill. The absence of dramatic military responses to what should constitute unprecedented airspace security breaches implies either official tolerance or understanding that contradicts public claims of ignorance. Project Bluebeam theorists interpret this response pattern as evidence that the mysterious aerial displays represent controlled demonstrations designed to prepare populations for more dramatic sky-based events scheduled for future phases of the alleged operation. The gradual escalation from simple unexplained lights to complex formation flights to reports of objects exhibiting impossible acceleration and maneuverability characteristics follows exactly the kind of psychological conditioning program that the original theory predicted. Social media amplification has transformed local phenomena into global conversation topics, reaching hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Videos of unusual aerial objects now circulate faster than verification mechanisms can assess their authenticity, creating information environments where genuine documentation becomes indistinguishable from sophisticated fabrications designed to support specific narrative frameworks. The viral spread of drone footage has created a feedback loop, where increased attention generates more reports, which produce more documentation, which drives additional attention in endless cycles that make objective assessment increasingly difficult. Professional video analysts report that recent footage exhibits technical characteristics that challenge conventional explanations, while remaining ambiguous enough to support multiple interpretations. Some videos appear to show objects exhibiting flight characteristics that violate known aerodynamic principles, including instantaneous acceleration, impossible turning angles, and apparent defiance of gravitational effects. Other footage suggests advanced holographic projection systems creating three-dimensional images in atmospheric media that appear solid from multiple viewing angles, while exhibiting transparent qualities that betray their artificial nature. The technological sophistication required to create convincing holographic displays in open atmospheric conditions represents cutting-edge research that military and corporate laboratories have pursued for decades. Recent patents filed by defense contractors describe atmospheric projection systems capable of creating realistic three-dimensional images at distances exceeding several kilometers from ground-based or aircraft-mounted sources. These systems operate by ionizing atmospheric particles through precisely controlled laser arrays, creating plasma formations that emit light in patterns corresponding to desired visual displays. The technology allows creation of images that appear solid and three-dimensional, while remaining essentially electromagnetic phenomena that can be activated or deactivated instantaneously. The existence of such capabilities doesn't prove their deployment in current drone sightings, but it establishes that technologies described in Project Bluebeam theory have progressed from speculative fiction to operational reality. The question becomes not whether such deception is technically possible, but whether institutional actors possess the motivation and coordination necessary to implement global-scale psychological operations using these advanced systems. Religious and spiritual communities have begun interpreting both the interstellar visitor and the aerial phenomena through eschatological frameworks that see cosmic significance in their simultaneous appearance. Christian prophecy researchers point to biblical passages describing signs in the heavens preceding end times events, while New Age spiritual movements interpret three ATLAS as herald of consciousness evolution and planetary transformation. Islamic scholars have noted correlations between current events and prophetic traditions describing unusual celestial phenomena and technological deceptions that would test the faith of believers during the final age. Hindu and Buddhist teachers reference ancient texts that describe periods of cosmic transition marked by appearance of objects from distant realms, accompanied by widespread spiritual confusion and technological maya that obscures truth from ordinary perception. The convergence of multiple religious interpretation frameworks around the same phenomena creates conditions where Project Bluebeam concepts could gain traction across diverse spiritual communities that rarely agree on theological matters. If the alleged operation were designed to synthesize religious traditions into a unified belief system, the current situation provides optimal conditions for such synthesis to occur naturally through shared interpretation of apparently supernatural events. The psychological mechanisms underlying mass spiritual movements involve pattern recognition systems that operate below conscious awareness, detecting correlations between environmental conditions and archetypal symbols that trigger deep emotional responses across cultural boundaries. When unusual phenomena cluster within compressed timeframes, these unconscious pattern detection systems activate regardless of rational skepticism or scientific training. Religious experience research suggests that individuals primed by cultural conditioning to expect spiritual significance in cosmic events will interpret ambiguous phenomena through frameworks that confirm their existing beliefs, while potentially remaining open to modified understandings that incorporate new information. This cognitive flexibility creates opportunities for belief system modification that skilled psychological operators could theoretically exploit for social engineering purposes. The original Project Bluebeam theory specifically targeted religious belief systems because spiritual frameworks provide the deepest psychological foundations for human behavior and social organization. If populations could be convinced that their existing religious understandings were incomplete or incorrect, they might accept alternative spiritual authorities that support desired political and social arrangements. Contemporary neuroscience research reveals that religious experiences involve specific brain regions associated with pattern recognition, emotional processing, and social bonding mechanisms that evolved to promote group cohesion and survival cooperation. These same neural networks respond to unusual environmental stimuli by seeking explanatory frameworks that restore psychological equilibrium and social stability. Sophisticated psychological operations targeting these systems could theoretically trigger mass spiritual experiences that feel completely authentic to participants while being artificially generated through technological manipulation of environmental conditions and information flows. The line between genuine spiritual experience and technologically induced religious phenomena becomes blurred when advanced systems can stimulate the same neural networks through external means. The October timeline becomes crucial because multiple streams of unusual activity are scheduled to converge during the same brief period when 3I/ATLAS disappears behind solar conjunction. The astronomical event creates a natural information blackout during which ground-based observations become impossible, providing perfect cover for any activities requiring concealment from human monitoring systems. Conspiracy researchers have noted that major geopolitical events and social engineering operations often occur during periods when public attention is focused elsewhere, or when information gathering becomes naturally restricted. Solar conjunctions, lunar eclipses, and other astronomical events that limit observation capabilities have historically coincided with significant political and military activities that benefit from reduced scrutiny. The timing also corresponds to seasonal patterns that affect human psychology and social behavior in ways that could amplify responses to unusual phenomena. October represents a transitional period when decreasing daylight hours trigger evolutionary survival mechanisms that heighten vigilance and pattern detection sensitivity. Halloween traditions specifically celebrate themes of supernatural contact and boundary dissolution between visible and invisible realms. Cultural programming around October supernatural themes creates psychological conditions where populations are more likely to interpret unusual phenomena through non-rational frameworks rather than seeking conventional scientific explanations. The seasonal timing provides optimal conditions for psychological operations designed to trigger spiritual or paranormal interpretations of technologically generated phenomena. Solar activity predictions for late October indicate elevated geomagnetic storm probabilities that could create natural aurora displays at lower latitudes while potentially interfering with satellite communications and electronic systems. The enhanced space weather environment provides natural cover for unusual electromagnetic phenomena, while creating conditions that could mask technological interventions designed to simulate supernatural or extraterrestrial contact. The combination of seasonal psychology, astronomical timing, and space weather conditions creates a perfect storm of factors that could amplify public responses to orchestrated events designed to trigger mass spiritual experiences or social transformation. Whether such coordination represents deliberate planning or fortunate coincidence depends entirely on whether Project Bluebeam concepts reflect actual operations or paranoid speculation about non-existent conspiracies. Government agencies continue providing information that raises more questions than it answers, maintaining official positions that acknowledge unusual phenomena while disclaiming knowledge of their sources or significance. This response pattern creates conditions where conspiracy theories flourish, because alternative explanation frameworks provide more psychologically satisfying narratives than institutional admissions of ignorance or uncertainty. The information warfare implications extend beyond simple deception into more sophisticated psychological operations that could reshape social reality through controlled narrative manipulation rather than obvious technological trickery. If populations can be convinced to interpret unusual but explainable phenomena as evidence of extraordinary events, the desired social effects can be achieved without deploying the advanced holographic systems that Project Bluebeam theory originally required. Modern information environments enable narrative warfare that operates through social media amplification, algorithmic content curation, and viral distribution mechanisms that can make minority interpretations appear as majority consensus within targeted demographic groups. The same technologies that spread legitimate scientific information also propagate conspiracy theories and alternative explanation frameworks with equal efficiency and reach. The epistemic warfare dimension involves attacks on knowledge systems themselves, rather than simple propaganda about specific topics. If populations lose confidence in institutional sources of information while becoming convinced that hidden actors possess secret knowledge about reality's true nature, social control becomes possible through information dependency rather than physical coercion. Project Bluebeam theory functions as a comprehensive epistemic warfare framework that explains unusual phenomena, predicts future events, and provides meaning systems that replace traditional religious and scientific authorities with alternative knowledge sources. The theory's resilience across 3 decades demonstrates its effectiveness as a belief system that adapts to new evidence while maintaining core narrative structures that resist conventional refutation. The current convergence of genuine anomalies with persistent conspiracy theories creates optimal conditions for testing whether such epistemic warfare concepts can achieve the social transformation effects that their proponents envision. We're witnessing a real-time experiment in how information societies process unprecedented phenomena when institutional authorities acknowledge limitations rather than providing definitive explanations that satisfy human psychological needs for certainty and control. As we approach the critical October timeframe, when multiple anomalous phenomena are scheduled to reach peak intensity, the outcomes will likely determine whether 3I/ATLAS and the mysterious aerial sightings represent genuine scientific mysteries that expand human understanding, or sophisticated demonstrations of how 21st century psychological operations can exploit information environments to reshape social reality through controlled narrative manipulation rather than obvious technological deception. The stakes extend beyond simple questions about extraterrestrial visitors or government transparency into fundamental issues about truth, evidence, and belief in complex societies, where information warfare capabilities have evolved far beyond traditional propaganda into sophisticated systems that can alter perception of reality itself through technological manipulation of information flows and psychological conditioning programs that operate below conscious awareness. What happens next may determine not just how we understand these specific phenomena, but how human civilization processes unusual events when the line between authentic mystery and artificial manipulation becomes impossible to distinguish through conventional analytical methods that assume clear boundaries between natural phenomena and technological intervention. The psychological preparation has been remarkably systematic. Think about how the past 5 years have conditioned global populations to accept extraordinary disruptions to normal life as temporary necessities for collective safety. Pandemic lockdowns demonstrated that billions of people will comply with unprecedented restrictions on movement and social interaction when authorities frame emergency measures as protecting public health. The precedent has been established that normal skepticism about government claims can be suspended during crisis periods that require immediate coordinated responses. Climate change narratives have similarly prepared populations to accept that planetary-scale threats require global coordination and individual sacrifice for species survival. The messaging framework already exists for convincing people that extraordinary circumstances demand extraordinary measures, including potential suspension of normal democratic processes and individual freedoms that might interfere with necessary collective action. Economic disruption patterns have demonstrated how quickly stable societies can adapt to radical changes in daily life when presented as unavoidable responses to external threats. Supply chain breakdowns, currency instability, and energy shortages that would have triggered social collapse in previous generations now get absorbed as temporary inconveniences that populations endure, while trusting that authorities are managing complex situations beyond ordinary citizen understanding. The normalization of constant surveillance through digital technologies has eliminated privacy expectations that might interfere with comprehensive monitoring systems. Smartphones that track location, record conversations, and monitor behavior patterns have become voluntary submission to surveillance networks that exceed the wildest dreams of historical totalitarian regimes. The infrastructure exists to monitor every individual's movements, communications, and social interactions in real time without triggering significant resistance. Social media platforms have perfected psychological manipulation techniques that can influence emotional states, political beliefs, and behavioral choices through algorithmic content curation that operates below conscious awareness. The same systems that sell consumer products and promote political candidates could theoretically coordinate mass psychological responses to orchestrated events designed to trigger specific social transformations. The drone sightings have evolved into something approaching a coordinated display of technologies that demonstrate capabilities far beyond conventional aircraft while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid triggering panic responses that might destabilize social order. Recent reports describe objects that appear to communicate with each other through synchronized light patterns that suggest coordinated intelligence rather than random automated behavior. Military personnel have begun reporting encounters with aerial phenomena that exhibit response patterns indicating awareness of human observation and potential hostile intent. Fighter pilots describe objects that seem to anticipate evasive maneuvers, and react to engagement protocols in ways that suggest either advanced artificial intelligence or conscious control by entities that understand human military capabilities and limitations. The escalation pattern follows psychological conditioning models that gradually increase stimulus intensity while allowing populations to adapt to each new level of unusual activity before introducing additional strangeness that pushes acceptance boundaries further without triggering rejection responses. The process resembles desensitization therapy that helps patients overcome phobias by gradually increasing exposure to feared stimuli until normal anxiety responses diminish. Air traffic controllers report that unidentified objects now appear on radar systems multiple times per week, rather than the isolated incidents that characterized earlier phases of the phenomenon. The frequency increase suggests either expanding activity by unknown operators or deliberate conditioning programs designed to normalize unusual aerial presence in controlled airspace without triggering emergency responses. Commercial aviation has begun incorporating unidentified aerial phenomena into standard operating procedures rather than treating each encounter as extraordinary security threat requiring immediate investigation. Pilot training programs now include protocols for documenting and reporting unusual objects without interrupting normal flight operations or alerting passengers to potential safety concerns. The bureaucratic normalization process transforms extraordinary phenomena into routine administrative matters that get processed through established channels without triggering the dramatic responses that genuine security threats would normally provoke. The system appears designed to absorb unusual events without acknowledging their potentially revolutionary implications for human understanding of reality. Meanwhile, 3i Atlas continues exhibiting behavioral characteristics that challenge conventional explanations, while remaining ambiguous enough to support multiple interpretation frameworks, depending on observer predispositions and analytical sophistication. Long-term monitoring reveals patterns that suggest either exotic natural processes or deliberate activity designed to maintain uncertainty about the object's true nature and origins. Brightness fluctuations occur in sequences that don't correlate with expected rotational periods or solar heating variations that typically govern comet behavior. The patterns suggest either complex internal dynamics involving multiple volatile compounds with different sublimation temperatures, or external influences that affect the object's appearance from Earth-based observation points in ways that natural processes cannot adequately explain. Spectroscopic analysis continues revealing chemical signatures that don't match typical solar system comet compositions, while remaining within ranges that could theoretically result from exotic formation conditions around different stellar systems. The molecular emissions indicate processes occurring within the object's coma that involve unusual concentrations of industrial metals combined with organic compounds in proportions that resist conventional explanation. Radio astronomy observations have detected weak electromagnetic emissions from 3 IATL-AS direction that fall within frequency ranges typically associated with technological sources rather than natural cosmic processes. The signals remain too faint and irregular to constitute definitive evidence of artificial origins, but they persist at levels that suggest either exotic plasma physics or deliberately suppressed communication attempts. The signal characteristics include periodic modulation patterns that could represent either rotational effects from natural magnetic field interactions or encoded information transmission, using protocols designed to appear naturally generated while carrying hidden content for receivers equipped with appropriate decryption capabilities. Analysis remains inconclusive because the emissions exist at the threshold of detection sensitivity, where background noise makes definitive characterization impossible. International space agencies have coordinated observation campaigns that demonstrate unprecedented cooperation between institutions that normally compete for research priorities and funding allocation. The collaborative effort involves sharing data, coordinating observation schedules, and jointly analyzing results in ways that suggest either genuine scientific excitement about studying interstellar material or coordinated preparation for events that require unified institutional responses. European Space Agency missions throughout the solar system have adjusted their operational parameters to optimize observation opportunities during 3I Atlas passage through different orbital positions. Mars orbiters, Jupiter exploration craft, and solar monitoring satellites are providing viewing angles and data collection capabilities that create comprehensive surveillance coverage of the interstellar visitor from multiple platforms simultaneously. The coordination demonstrates organizational capabilities that could support large-scale deception operations requiring precise timing and international cooperation across multiple governmental and scientific institutions. The same infrastructure and collaborative protocols currently being used for legitimate research could theoretically coordinate more nefarious activities without requiring additional organizational structures or communication channels. Space-based observation platforms provide ideal positions for deploying holographic projection systems or other atmospheric manipulation technologies that could create apparent phenomena visible from Earth while maintaining sufficient distance to avoid detailed detection of technological sources. Satellites equipped with advanced laser systems could ionize atmospheric particles to create luminous displays that appear to originate from natural cosmic sources. The technological capabilities exist to create convincing simulations of astronomical events that would fool all but the most sophisticated analysis techniques, while the international coordination mechanisms necessary for such operations are already operational and proven effective through current scientific collaboration programs. The question becomes whether institutional actors possess motivations sufficient to justify deploying these capabilities for deception purposes rather than legitimate research. Project Bluebeam theorists argue that the current situation provides perfect conditions for testing advanced deception technologies under controlled circumstances that allow measurement of public responses and system effectiveness without risking exposure through overly dramatic demonstrations that might trigger widespread skepticism or resistance. The gradual escalation allows fine-tuning of psychological manipulation techniques while maintaining plausible deniability through conventional explanations. The religious implications continue expanding as spiritual communities worldwide interpret current phenomena through eschatological frameworks that see prophetic significance in the convergence of cosmic visitors, mysterious aerial displays, and archaeological discoveries that challenge historical narratives. Multiple faith traditions are finding correlations between current events and ancient predictions about end times conditions that precede major spiritual transformation or divine intervention. Christian prophecy researchers point to biblical descriptions of signs in heaven and earth that would herald the return of divine authority to human affairs, while Islamic scholars reference hadith traditions describing technological deceptions and false miracles that would test believers during the final age. Hindu and Buddhist teachings about cosmic cycles include periods of transition marked by appearance of beings from other realms, accompanied by widespread spiritual confusion and technological maya that obscures truth from ordinary perception. The cross-cultural convergence of interpretation frameworks creates conditions where diverse religious communities might accept unified explanations for apparently supernatural phenomena, potentially fulfilling Project Bluebeam objectives of synthesizing existing belief systems into new spiritual authorities that support desired social and political arrangements without requiring obvious coercion or institutional conquest. Neuroscience research reveals that religious experiences involve specific brain regions associated with pattern recognition, social bonding, and meaning-making systems that evolve to promote group survival through cooperative behavior and shared belief structures. These same neural networks respond to unusual environmental stimuli by seeking explanatory frameworks that restore psychological equilibrium and social cohesion. Advanced psychological operations targeting these systems could theoretically trigger mass spiritual experiences that feel completely authentic to participants while being artificially generated through technological manipulation of environmental conditions, electromagnetic field exposure, and information flows designed to activate specific neural response patterns associated with transcendent or mystical states of consciousness. The line between genuine spiritual experience and technologically induced religious phenomena becomes blurred when sophisticated systems can stimulate the same brain regions through external means while creating environmental conditions that support desired interpretation frameworks. Populations experiencing such artificially triggered states would have no internal mechanism for distinguishing authentic spiritual contact from technologically generated simulations. Military research into electromagnetic effects on human consciousness includes classified programs that explore how specific frequency ranges can influence mood, behavior, and perception in ways that could support psychological operations requiring altered states of awareness or enhanced suggestibility to authoritative messaging. The same technologies developed for battlefield applications could theoretically be adapted for civilian population influence during staged events. The October timeline becomes increasingly critical as multiple streams of unusual activity are scheduled to converge during the period when 3IATLAS disappears behind solar conjunction, creating natural information blackout conditions that provide perfect cover for activities requiring concealment from ground-based observation systems. The astronomical event coincides with seasonal psychological factors that could amplify public responses to orchestrated phenomena. Geomagnetic storm predictions for late October indicate elevated solar activity that could create natural aurora displays at lower latitudes, while potentially interfering with satellite communications and electronic systems. The enhanced space weather environment provides natural cover for unusual electromagnetic phenomena, while creating conditions that could mask technological interventions designed to simulate supernatural or extraterrestrial contact events. The combination of astronomical timing, space weather conditions, and seasonal psychological factors creates optimal circumstances for psychological operations designed to trigger mass spiritual experiences or social transformation through apparently supernatural demonstrations that exploit natural environmental conditions to enhance credibility and emotional impact, while maintaining plausible deniability through conventional explanations. Halloween cultural programming specifically celebrates themes of supernatural contact and boundary dissolution between visible and invisible realms, creating psychological conditions where populations are more likely to interpret unusual phenomena through non-rational frameworks, rather than seeking conventional scientific explanations for technologically generated events designed to appear otherworldly or divine in origin. Government information policies continue following patterns that fuel rather than diminish conspiracy speculation by acknowledging unusual phenomena while disclaiming knowledge of their sources, creating information vacuums that alternative explanation frameworks naturally fill with narratives that provide more psychologically satisfying accounts than institutional admissions of ignorance or uncertainty about unprecedented events. The absence of dramatic military responses to what should constitute unprecedented airspace security breaches implies either official tolerance for ongoing intrusions or understanding about their nature that contradicts public claims of ignorance, suggesting coordination between mysterious aerial operators and government agencies that maintain official positions of confusion while possibly managing controlled disclosure or conditioning programs. Social media amplification has transformed localized phenomena into global conversation topics, reaching hundreds of millions of people worldwide through viral distribution mechanisms that spread speculation faster than verification systems can assess accuracy, creating information environments where genuine documentation becomes indistinguishable from sophisticated fabrications designed to support specific narrative frameworks or psychological operations. The viral feedback loops create cascading effects where increased attention generates more reports, producing additional documentation that drives further attention in cycles that make objective assessment increasingly difficult, while potentially providing cover for introducing artificially generated content that exploits existing interest patterns to achieve desired psychological impacts on target populations. Professional video analysis reveals that recent footage exhibits technical characteristics, suggesting either breakthrough aerospace technologies being demonstrated publicly or advanced holographic projection systems creating three-dimensional atmospheric displays that appear solid from multiple viewing angles, while maintaining transparent qualities that indicate electromagnetic rather than physical phenomena. The technological sophistication required for convincing atmospheric holography represents cutting-edge military research that defense contractors have pursued for decades through patents describing plasma-based projection systems capable of creating realistic images at considerable distances from ground-based or aircraft-mounted sources, using precisely controlled laser arrays that ionize atmospheric particles. These systems operate by creating electromagnetic phenomena that emit light in patterns corresponding to desired visual displays, while remaining essentially energy formations that can be activated or deactivated instantaneously, allowing creation of apparent objects that exhibit impossible flight characteristics because they represent controlled electromagnetic effects rather than physical craft, subject to normal aerodynamic limitations. The existence of such capabilities establishes that technologies described in Project Bluebeam theory have progressed from speculative fiction to operational reality, though their deployment in current circumstances remains unconfirmed and could represent either legitimate testing of advanced systems or implementation of deception operations designed to condition populations for more dramatic future demonstrations. Information warfare implications extend beyond simple deception into sophisticated psychological operations that could reshape social reality through controlled narrative manipulation rather than obvious technological trickery, exploiting human pattern recognition systems that seek meaning in unusual event clusters, regardless of their actual causal relationships or intentional coordination by external actors. Modern epistemic warfare attacks knowledge systems themselves rather than promoting specific false beliefs, undermining confidence in institutional information sources while creating dependency on alternative explanation frameworks that provide more psychologically satisfying narratives than official acknowledgements of uncertainty about phenomena that challenge conventional understanding of reality. The psychological conditioning effects operate through repeated exposure to unusual phenomena that gradually expand acceptance boundaries for extraordinary explanations, while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid triggering rejection responses that might destabilize the influence process through premature revelation of manipulation techniques or overly dramatic demonstrations that exceed believability thresholds. As October approaches and multiple anomalous phenomena prepare to converge during optimal psychological and astronomical conditions, we're witnessing a real-time experiment in how advanced information societies process unprecedented events, when institutional authorities acknowledge limitations rather than providing definitive explanations that satisfy human needs for certainty and meaning in chaotic environments. The outcomes will likely determine whether current phenomena represent genuine mysteries that expand human understanding of cosmic reality, or sophisticated demonstrations of how 21st century psychological operations can exploit technological capabilities and information environments to reshape social consciousness through controlled narrative manipulation that operates below the threshold of conscious recognition. What emerges from this convergence may fundamentally alter how human civilization processes unusual events when the boundaries between authentic mystery and artificial manipulation become impossible to distinguish through conventional analytical methods that assume clear separation between natural phenomena and technological intervention in the fabric of experienced reality itself. The next phase will test whether populations conditioned by decades of gradual preparation can be guided toward accepting extraordinary explanations for coordinated phenomena that challenge basic assumptions about humanity's place in a cosmos that may be far stranger, more populated, and more deliberately orchestrated than our current scientific paradigms allow us to comprehend or acknowledge. The preparation phase appears to be entering its final stage. Social media algorithms have begun amplifying content related to both phenomena in ways that suggest coordinated information management rather than organic viral spread. Posts about 3I/ATLAS and the drone sightings receive engagement patterns that don't match typical user behavior, with view counts and interaction rates that spike simultaneously across multiple platforms using distribution mechanisms typically reserved for promoted content or emergency information dissemination. Content creators reporting on these topics describe shadow banning effects, where their videos receive limited reach despite high engagement rates, followed by sudden algorithmic boosts that push the same content to millions of viewers without explanation. The pattern suggests centralized control over information flow that can suppress or amplify specific narratives depending on timing requirements for psychological conditioning programs. Professional debunking organizations have notably avoided comprehensive analysis of either phenomenon, instead focusing on peripheral aspects that don't address core anomalies. The selective skepticism suggests coordinated restraint from institutions that normally provide rapid explanations for unusual events, leaving interpretive space for alternative frameworks to develop without authoritative counter-narratives that might interfere with desired psychological impacts. Academic institutions have similarly maintained unusual silence about phenomena that would normally trigger extensive research initiatives and public education campaigns. The absence of scholarly engagement creates information environments where conspiracy theories face reduced competition from institutional expertise, allowing alternative explanation frameworks to gain credibility through lack of authoritative contradiction rather than positive evidence. Religious leaders across multiple faith traditions have begun incorporating current events into sermons and teachings that emphasize themes of cosmic transformation and spiritual preparation for unprecedented changes. The messaging coordination across denominations that rarely agree on theological matters suggests either genuine spiritual significance or orchestrated preparation for events that require unified religious interpretation frameworks. Vatican astronomers have issued statements acknowledging the scientific importance of studying interstellar visitors, while emphasizing that such discoveries don't contradict religious teachings about divine creation and cosmic purpose. The careful balance between scientific acceptance and theological preservation suggests preparation for revelations that might challenge traditional religious boundaries without completely undermining institutional spiritual authority. Islamic scholars have published analyses connecting current astronomical events to prophetic traditions about signs preceding major spiritual transformation, while carefully avoiding specific predictions that might create panic or social disruption. The measured approach suggests coordination between religious authorities and secular institutions to manage public psychological responses during potentially destabilizing revelation periods. New Age spiritual communities have embraced both phenomena as evidence of consciousness, evolution, and planetary ascension processes that require individual spiritual preparation and collective meditation practices. The unified messaging across typically fragmented alternative spirituality networks suggests either genuine intuitive recognition of significant events or coordinated psychological operations, targeting populations most likely to accept extraordinary explanations for unusual phenomena. The timing synchronization extends beyond simple calendar alignment into complex orchestration of multiple information streams that reinforce each other through cross-referential validation patterns. News about 3I/ATLAS appears alongside drone sighting reports in ways that suggest editorial coordination rather than coincidental clustering, while social media discussions naturally blend both topics into unified conspiracy narratives that feel organic despite their systematic construction. Professional pilots continue reporting encounters with aerial phenomena that exhibit increasingly sophisticated response patterns, indicating awareness of human observation and potential communication attempts. Recent incidents describe objects that seem to acknowledge observer presence through synchronized light displays that follow geometric patterns too complex for random generation, while maintaining characteristics that resist conventional technological explanation. Air traffic control facilities report that unidentified radar contacts now occur during specific time windows that correlate with astronomical events and space weather conditions, suggesting coordination between unknown operators and natural cosmic phenomena that could provide cover for technological demonstrations requiring optimal electromagnetic environments for maximum effectiveness, while maintaining plausible deniability through environmental explanations. The bureaucratic absorption process has transformed extraordinary encounters into routine administrative procedures that get documented through established channels without triggering emergency responses or investigation protocols that might reveal the organized nature of phenomena designed to appear random while serving systematic conditioning purposes that operate through cumulative psychological impact rather than dramatic singular events. Military personnel describe training exercises that now include protocols for engaging aerial phenomena that exhibit impossible flight characteristics, suggesting institutional preparation for encounters with technologies that exceed known aerospace capabilities, while maintaining operational secrecy about the true nature of training scenarios that might involve either genuine extraterrestrial contact or advanced human technologies requiring specialized response procedures. Intelligence agencies have reportedly briefed congressional committees on developments related to unexplained aerial phenomena, using classified information that cannot be publicly disclosed, creating official acknowledgement of significant developments while maintaining information restrictions that fuel speculation about hidden knowledge requiring national security protection or coordinated deception requiring institutional cooperation across multiple governmental levels. The pattern resembles classic psychological operations that use partial disclosure to enhance credibility while maintaining control over narrative development through strategic information release timing that guides public interpretation toward desired conclusions without requiring obvious manipulation that might trigger resistance responses from populations trained to recognize propaganda techniques through historical education about authoritarian influence methods. 3. I/ATLAS behavior continues evolving in ways that suggest either exotic natural processes or deliberate demonstrations designed to maintain scientific interest, while avoiding definitive characterization that might resolve questions about its artificial or natural origins. The object exhibits brightness variations that follow complex patterns resistant to explanation through standard comet physics, while remaining within parameters that could theoretically result from unknown stellar formation conditions. Spectroscopic signatures indicate molecular processes occurring within the comet's coma that involve unusual chemical combinations, suggesting either exotic ice compositions formed under different stellar conditions or artificial material combinations designed to simulate natural processes while incorporating elements that betray technological origins to observers equipped with appropriate analytical sophistication and willingness to consider extraordinary possibilities. Radio emissions from 3 I/ATLAS direction continue at levels that hover between natural cosmic background and intentional signal transmission, creating ambiguity that supports multiple interpretation frameworks depending on analytical assumptions and theoretical predispositions. The signals exhibit modulation characteristics that could represent either rotational magnetic field effects or encoded information transmission using protocols designed to appear naturally generated. International space agencies maintain unprecedented cooperation levels that demonstrate organizational capabilities sufficient for coordinating global-scale operations, requiring precise timing and institutional synchronization across governmental and scientific boundaries that normally limit information sharing and collaborative decision-making processes. The unified response suggests either genuine scientific excitement or coordinated preparation for events requiring managed institutional responses. European Space Agency missions throughout the solar system continue adjusting operational parameters to optimize observation capabilities during 3I/ATLAS passage through different orbital positions, creating comprehensive surveillance coverage that could serve legitimate research purposes or provide platform infrastructure for deploying technologies requiring space-based positioning for maximum effectiveness, while maintaining distance from ground-based detection systems. The coordination demonstrates technical capabilities and international cooperation mechanisms that could support sophisticated deception operations without requiring additional organizational structures beyond those already operational for scientific collaboration purposes, suggesting that infrastructure necessary for Project Bluebeam implementation already exists through legitimate institutional channels that could be repurposed for alternative objectives. Atmospheric research facilities have detected unusual ionization patterns in regions where drone sightings occur most frequently, indicating either natural electromagnetic phenomena correlating with unexplained aerial activity or technological manipulation of atmospheric conditions that could support holographic projection systems or other advanced display technologies requiring specific environmental conditions for optimal operation and visual effectiveness. The ionization signatures occur at altitudes and intensities that don't match typical natural phenomena, while remaining within ranges that sophisticated electromagnetic manipulation systems could theoretically produce using ground-based or aircraft-mounted equipment capable of precise atmospheric modification for technological purposes that require controlled plasma formation and electromagnetic field management. Military weather modification research includes classified programs that explore atmospheric manipulation techniques for various purposes, including communication enhancement and stealth technology support, providing precedent for capabilities that could create environmental conditions supporting advanced deception technologies while maintaining plausible deniability through natural weather explanation frameworks that avoid revealing operational parameters. The technology exists to create atmospheric conditions that would support convincing holographic displays or other electromagnetic phenomena designed to simulate extraordinary aerial activity, while the institutional infrastructure necessary for coordinating such operations has been demonstrated through current international collaboration on legitimate scientific research programs that establish precedent for unified response capabilities. Project Bluebeam theorists argue that current developments represent final testing phases of technologies and coordination mechanisms before implementing full-scale operations designed to trigger mass psychological transformation through apparently supernatural demonstrations that exploit prepared populations conditioned by years of gradual exposure to increasingly unusual phenomena that expand acceptance boundaries for extraordinary explanations. The psychological preparation has created optimal conditions for accepting explanations that would have been rejected as impossible by populations not subjected to systematic conditioning through repeated exposure to anomalous events that gradually normalize extraordinary possibilities while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid triggering premature skepticism or resistance responses that might interfere with desired psychological impacts. Religious communities worldwide have been prepared through decades of theological development that emphasizes cosmic spirituality and extraterrestrial possibilities, while maintaining compatibility with traditional faith structures, creating interpretive frameworks that could absorb extraordinary revelations without completely destabilizing existing belief systems that provide social cohesion and individual meaning structures necessary for maintaining psychological stability during transformation periods. The convergence timing suggests either remarkable coincidence or deliberate coordination between multiple phenomena that individually might represent natural events but collectively create conditions optimal for psychological operations, requiring synchronized, unusual experiences that overwhelm normal skepticism through cumulative impact rather than relying on single dramatic demonstrations that might trigger rejection responses from populations trained to recognize deception attempts. October's astronomical conjunction creates natural information blackout conditions, during which ground-based observation becomes impossible, providing perfect cover for activities requiring concealment from human monitoring, while space weather conditions create electromagnetic environments that could mask technological interventions or enhance effectiveness of atmospheric manipulation systems designed to simulate supernatural or extraterrestrial phenomena. The seasonal timing exploits psychological factors that make populations more susceptible to supernatural interpretations of unusual events, while cultural programming around Halloween themes creates expectation frameworks that prime acceptance of boundary dissolution between normal and extraordinary reality categories, potentially facilitating psychological operations that require altered perception states for maximum effectiveness and minimal resistance. Geomagnetic storm predictions indicate elevated solar activity that could create natural aurora displays while potentially interfering with communication systems in ways that provide both cover for unusual electromagnetic phenomena and explanation frameworks for technological effects that might otherwise appear obviously artificial to populations not prepared for extraordinary demonstrations, requiring environmental conditions that support desired psychological impacts. The combination of factors creates unprecedented opportunities for psychological operations that could exploit prepared populations, optimal timing conditions, and advanced technological capabilities to achieve social transformation objectives through apparently supernatural experiences that feel authentic to participants while being artificially generated through sophisticated manipulation of environmental conditions, information flows, and psychological conditioning programs operating below conscious awareness thresholds. Government information policies continue maintaining official positions that acknowledge unusual phenomena while disclaiming knowledge of sources or significance, creating information environments where alternative explanation frameworks face reduced competition from authoritative interpretations, while conspiracy theories gain credibility through institutional silence that suggests hidden knowledge requiring protection or coordination that cannot be publicly acknowledged. The response patterns fuel speculation about coordinated deception or genuine mysteries that authorities cannot explain, creating psychological conditions where populations lose confidence in official information sources while becoming more receptive to alternative authorities offering definitive explanations for phenomena that institutional sources admit they cannot understand or characterize through conventional analytical frameworks. Social media amplification systems continue spreading related content through viral mechanisms that suggest algorithmic manipulation rather than organic user engagement, creating information environments where speculation spreads faster than verification, while genuine documentation becomes indistinguishable from sophisticated fabrications designed to support specific narrative frameworks or psychological conditioning programs targeting mass consciousness. The viral feedback loops create cascading effects where increased attention generates additional reports and documentation that drives further attention in cycles that make objective assessment increasingly difficult, while potentially providing cover for introducing artificially generated content that exploits existing interest patterns to achieve desired psychological impacts on target populations, prepared through systematic exposure to unusual phenomena. Professional analysis capabilities have been overwhelmed by the volume and complexity of phenomena requiring investigation, creating analytical bottlenecks that delay definitive characterization while allowing speculative interpretations to develop without authoritative contradiction from institutional expertise that might otherwise provide conventional explanations for events that appear extraordinary to general audiences lacking specialized knowledge. The information processing delays create temporal windows during which alternative explanation frameworks can gain psychological credibility before conventional analysis provides competing interpretations, potentially allowing psychological operations to achieve desired impacts before skeptical responses can organize effective counter-narratives that might interfere with intended social transformation objectives. Academic institutions maintain unusual restraint about phenomena that would normally trigger extensive research initiatives and public education campaigns, creating intellectual environments where conspiracy theories face reduced competition from scholarly expertise, while alternative interpretation frameworks gain credibility through absence of authoritative contradiction, rather than positive supporting evidence from credible sources. The scholarly silence suggests either genuine uncertainty about phenomena that challenge conventional understanding, or coordinated information management that maintains interpretive space for alternative narratives to develop without institutional interference. that might prevent desired psychological conditioning effects from achieving intended social transformation objectives through systematic manipulation of public consciousness. International cooperation mechanisms demonstrated through current scientific collaboration establish precedent for coordination capabilities that could support global-scale psychological operations requiring unified institutional responses across governmental and organizational boundaries that normally limit cooperative decision-making processes, suggesting infrastructure necessary for Project Bluebeam implementation already exists through legitimate channels. The organizational capabilities proven effective for scientific research could theoretically be repurposed for alternative objectives requiring international coordination and precise timing without requiring additional institutional structures beyond those already operational for collaborative programs that establish precedent for unified response mechanisms capable of supporting sophisticated deception operations. Military training programs now include scenarios involving encounters with technologies exhibiting impossible flight characteristics, suggesting institutional preparation for engagement with capabilities that exceed known aerospace limitations, while maintaining operational secrecy about training parameters that might involve genuine extraterrestrial contact or advanced human technologies requiring specialized response protocols. The preparation implies official knowledge about developments that public statements disclaim, creating information asymmetries that fuel conspiracy speculation, while potentially indicating coordination between mysterious phenomena and institutional responses that maintain public positions of confusion, while possibly managing controlled disclosure or conditioning programs designed to prepare populations for extraordinary revelations. Intelligence briefings to congressional committees using classified information create official acknowledgement of significant developments while maintaining information restrictions that enhance credibility through partial disclosure patterns, typical of psychological operations that use strategic revelation timing to guide public interpretation toward desired conclusions without obvious manipulation that might trigger resistance responses from educated populations. The briefing patterns suggest either genuine security concerns requiring protection of sensitive information or coordinated deception requiring institutional cooperation across multiple governmental levels to maintain narrative control while gradually conditioning populations for accepting extraordinary explanations that support desired social and political transformation objectives through systematic psychological manipulation. As October approaches and multiple streams of unusual activity prepare to converge during optimal conditions created by astronomical timing, space weather factors, and seasonal psychological influences, we're witnessing the potential culmination of systematic preparation phases that have conditioned global populations for accepting extraordinary explanations for coordinated phenomena that may represent the most sophisticated psychological operation in human history. The convergence suggests either remarkable coincidence or deliberate orchestration of multiple elements designed to overwhelm normal skepticism through cumulative impact while exploiting prepared populations, advanced technologies, and optimal environmental conditions to achieve social transformation objectives that could fundamentally alter human civilization's relationship with reality itself. What unfolds during the coming weeks may determine whether humanity faces genuine contact with cosmic intelligence, sophisticated deception designed to reshape social consciousness, or the intersection of both possibilities in ways that challenge fundamental assumptions about truth, reality, and the nature of existence in a universe that may be far stranger and more deliberately orchestrated than our current paradigms allow us to comprehend. The final phase is about to begin, and nothing will ever be the same again. The ground itself seems to be responding to the cosmic convergence. Seismic monitoring stations across multiple continents are detecting unusual patterns that don't match typical earthquake behavior or tectonic activity. These aren't the random geological disturbances that characterize normal crustal movement. Instead, they follow rhythmic sequences that suggest external influences operating on scales that conventional geology cannot adequately explain. Deep, underground facilities equipped with sensitive vibration detection equipment report resonance frequencies that correlate with astronomical events and space weather conditions. The timing either patterns indicate remarkable coincidences or systematic coordination between cosmic phenomena and terrestrial responses that challenge our understanding of how planetary systems interact with their stellar environments. Mining operations in regions experiencing unusual seismic activity have encountered geological anomalies that don't fit standard formation models. Rock layers appear disturbed in ways that suggest recent activity, despite being buried for millions of years according to conventional dating methods. Ancient mineral deposits show electromagnetic signatures, indicating exposure to energy sources that shouldn't exist in natural underground environments. The electromagnetic anomalies extend beyond simple magnetic field variations into complex patterns that resemble technological signatures more than geological processes. Sophisticated monitoring equipment detects pulse sequences and frequency modulations that suggest either exotic natural phenomena or artificial systems operating beneath the Earth's surface in ways that conventional science hasn't recognized or acknowledged. Archaeological teams working in seismically active regions continue discovering artifacts and structures that challenge established historical timelines. Recent excavations have revealed construction techniques using materials and methods that don't match any known ancient civilizations, suggesting either lost technological capabilities or modern interventions designed to create false historical evidence supporting specific narrative frameworks. The discoveries include metallic objects exhibiting isotopic ratios that don't match terrestrial formation processes, indicating either extraterrestrial origins or advanced manufacturing techniques that can simulate alien material signatures. Carbon dating results produce inconsistent readings that suggest either contamination from unknown sources or deliberate manipulation of dating samples to support predetermined conclusions about artifact ages. Religious artifacts displaying symbolic systems that synthesize multiple spiritual traditions have emerged from sites disturbed by recent seismic activity. The symbols combine elements from Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and various indigenous traditions in ways that suggest either ancient universal spiritual knowledge or modern fabrications designed to support unified religious interpretation frameworks that could facilitate social control through synthetic spiritual authorities. The symbolic combinations follow patterns that appear randomly assembled to casual observers, but reveal sophisticated theological integration when analyzed by experts familiar with comparative religion and mystical symbolism. The complexity suggests either genuine ancient wisdom traditions that transcended cultural boundaries or carefully researched modern creations designed to appear authentically ancient while serving contemporary psychological manipulation objectives. Linguistic analysis of inscriptions found at these sites reveals text written in languages that don't match any known historical scripts, while following grammatical structures that suggest systematic artificial construction rather than natural language evolution. The writing systems incorporate elements from multiple linguistic families in ways that could represent either lost universal communication methods or modern attempts to create believable ancient languages, supporting desired historical narratives. Translation attempts using advanced cryptographic analysis and artificial intelligence language processing systems produce results that vary dramatically depending on interpretive assumptions and theoretical frameworks applied to the decipherment process. The textual ambiguity allows multiple readings that can support different religious and historical interpretations according to desired narrative requirements. The timing of these archaeological discoveries coincides perfectly with the astronomical phenomena and aerial sightings in ways that stretch coincidence beyond reasonable probability limits. Either we're witnessing the most remarkable convergence of unrelated events in recorded history, or systematic coordination between terrestrial operations and cosmic phenomena that suggest planning and execution capabilities far exceeding anything officially acknowledged by governmental or scientific institutions. Underground facilities that monitor seismic activity have detected structural modifications in deep geological formations that appear to be expanding existing cave systems and tunnel networks through methods that don't leave traces of conventional excavation equipment. The modifications suggest either natural erosion processes accelerated by unknown factors, or deliberate underground construction using technologies that can alter rock formations without generating detectable surface disturbances. Ground-penetrating radar systems reveal underground structures in regions where no historical construction is documented, indicating either previously unknown ancient civilizations or modern tunneling operations that maintain complete secrecy about their purpose and extent. The structures exhibit architectural sophistication that challenges assumptions about both historical capabilities and contemporary underground engineering projects. The underground anomalies connect to surface locations where unusual electromagnetic phenomena have been detected, suggesting integrated systems that span multiple depth levels while maintaining operational coordination between buried infrastructure and atmospheric manipulation technologies. The connections imply engineering capabilities that exceed officially acknowledged technological development, while serving purposes that remain deliberately concealed from public awareness. Atmospheric scientists report ionization patterns above regions experiencing underground anomalies, indicating electromagnetic interactions between surface and subsurface systems that could support advanced communication networks or energy distribution systems operating beyond conventional detection thresholds. The ionization signatures match theoretical predictions for technologies that could support large-scale atmospheric manipulation or holographic projection capabilities. The electromagnetic signatures occur in frequency ranges that interfere with standard communication systems, while remaining below levels that would trigger automatic emergency responses from monitoring agencies. The careful calibration suggests either natural phenomena that coincidentally avoid detection thresholds or deliberately designed systems that operate within parameters calculated to minimize official attention while maintaining operational effectiveness. Military installations in affected regions report equipment malfunctions and communication disruptions that follow patterns correlating with astronomical events and unusual aerial activity. The electronic interference suggests either natural electromagnetic phenomena or deliberate jamming operations designed to limit military response capabilities during periods when unusual activities require reduced institutional interference. The interference patterns affect specific equipment types while leaving others operational, indicating either selective natural electromagnetic effects or targeted jamming systems that understand military communication protocols and can disrupt particular capabilities while maintaining plausible deniability through apparent randomness that masks systematic technological warfare applications. Intelligence agencies have reportedly detected unusual data transmission patterns using satellite networks and internet infrastructure during periods of peak unusual activity. The transmissions employ encryption methods that resist conventional analysis while following distribution patterns that suggest coordination between multiple operational centers located in different geographic regions and possibly different countries. The encrypted communications occur during time windows that correlate with space weather conditions and astronomical events, suggesting either opportunistic use of natural electromagnetic environments that provide enhanced security for sensitive communications or coordinated timing that exploits cosmic conditions to mask technological operations, requiring optimal environmental conditions for maximum effectiveness. Cybersecurity experts report attempts to access classified databases containing information about astronomical observations, atmospheric research, and underground monitoring systems. The intrusion attempts use sophisticated methods that suggest either foreign intelligence operations or domestic agencies conducting unauthorized information, gathering about phenomena that official sources claim they cannot identify or characterize. The hacking patterns target specific data types related to current unusual phenomena, while avoiding other classified information that would normally attract intelligence-gathering operations, suggesting either focused research interests or coordinated information collection, supporting operations that require detailed knowledge about ongoing atmospheric, geological, and astronomical conditions affecting operational parameters. Financial markets have begun showing volatility patterns that correlate with news reports about unusual phenomena, indicating either investor psychological responses to uncertainty or coordinated trading operations that exploit public attention to unusual events for profit generation or market manipulation purposes that could serve broader strategic objectives requiring economic disruption or resource redistribution. The trading patterns affect specific sectors, including aerospace, defense, telecommunications, and rare earth minerals, while avoiding others that would normally respond to general uncertainty conditions. The selectivity suggests either informed speculation about technological developments or coordinated market manipulation that anticipates specific industry impacts from phenomena that official sources claim remain unexplained. Corporate research and development programs have accelerated development of technologies related to atmospheric manipulation, holographic displays, electromagnetic field generation, and advanced propulsion systems during the same period when unusual phenomena have increased in frequency and sophistication. The timing suggests either responsive development to observed capabilities or coordinated technology deployment that requires industrial preparation for operational implementation. Patent filings have increased dramatically for inventions related to atmospheric projection systems, electromagnetic field manipulation devices, and advanced aircraft propulsion technologies that exhibit characteristics similar to those reported in unusual aerial phenomena. The patent activity indicates either innovative responses to observed capabilities or protective intellectual property strategies for technologies already under development for operational deployment. The patent applications describe specific technical approaches to creating atmospheric displays, electromagnetic effects, and flight characteristics that match reported anomalous phenomena with remarkable precision. The correlation suggests either reverse engineering efforts based on observed capabilities or coordinated development programs that are testing technologies through public demonstrations while maintaining official positions of ignorance about their sources and capabilities. Manufacturing facilities have reportedly increased production of specialized components, including rare earth magnets, advanced semiconductor devices, and exotic materials that could support atmospheric manipulation systems or advanced propulsion technologies. The production increases occur without corresponding commercial demand that would justify expanded manufacturing capacity for experimental technologies lacking established markets. The manufacturing patterns suggest either speculative investment in emerging technologies or coordinated preparation for large-scale deployment of systems requiring specialized components not available through standard industrial supply chains. The investment levels indicate either remarkable business confidence in uncertain technologies or coordinated funding that supports operational programs requiring industrial preparation for systematic implementation. Supply chain analysis reveals procurement patterns for materials and components that could support advanced atmospheric manipulation systems, electromagnetic field generation equipment, and sophisticated holographic display technologies. The procurement activities involve multiple companies across different countries, suggesting either distributed development programs or coordinated international operations requiring industrial support infrastructure. The procurement patterns avoid single-source acquisition that might reveal operational purposes, while maintaining plausible commercial explanations for individual transactions that collectively support capabilities exceeding officially acknowledged technological development. The distribution strategy indicates either sophisticated operational security or legitimate business activities that coincidentally correlate with reported unusual phenomena. Research institutions have received funding increases for programs studying atmospheric physics, electromagnetic field manipulation, holographic display technologies, and advanced propulsion systems during the same period when unusual phenomena have intensified. The funding sources include both governmental agencies and private organizations that normally focus on different research priorities. The research funding patterns suggest either responsive investigation of observed phenomena or coordinated development support for technologies requiring academic research infrastructure. The funding levels exceed normal allocation for speculative research while focusing on specific technical areas that correlate with reported anomalous capabilities in ways that indicate either remarkable prescience or coordinated planning. Academic publication patterns show increased submissions for papers related to atmospheric manipulation, electromagnetic phenomena, and advanced propulsion physics during periods of peak unusual activity. The submissions include both theoretical work and experimental results that describe capabilities similar to those reported in unexplained phenomena, suggesting either academic response to observed events or coordinated research disclosure supporting broader operational objectives. The publication review processes have been accelerated for papers related to relevant technologies while maintaining normal timelines for other research areas. The selective acceleration suggests either editorial recognition of urgent scientific importance or coordinated academic preparation for developments that require intellectual framework establishment before public disclosure of operational capabilities. International scientific conferences have added sessions focused on atmospheric manipulation technologies, electromagnetic field effects, and advanced propulsion systems without corresponding increases in research activity that would normally justify expanded conference programming. The conference editions suggest either anticipatory planning for emerging research areas or coordinated academic preparation for revelations requiring professional community preparation. The conference attendance patterns show participation by researchers who don't normally work in relevant fields, indicating either interdisciplinary interest in emerging phenomena or coordinated information gathering by specialists whose actual research focuses remain classified or compartmentalized within institutional structures that limit public disclosure of operational programs. Educational institutions have begun incorporating curriculum changes that emphasize atmospheric physics, electromagnetic phenomena, and advanced propulsion concepts in ways that prepare students for technological developments that haven't been officially acknowledged. The curriculum modifications suggest either prescient educational planning or coordinated academic preparation for workforce requirements supporting operational programs. The educational changes affect multiple institutions across different countries simultaneously, indicating either remarkable coordination of independent educational decisions or systematic preparation for technological developments requiring trained personnel with specific technical knowledge that current educational systems don't normally provide through standard academic programs. Media coverage patterns reveal coordinated information management that shapes public perception about unusual phenomena through selective reporting, strategic timing of information release, and consistent messaging frameworks that guide interpretation towards specific conclusion, despite the apparent diversity of news sources and journalistic perspectives covering the events. The coordination appears in subtle editorial choices including story placement, expert selection for interviews, and emphasis patterns that collectively create desired psychological impacts while maintaining appearance of independent journalism. The systematic nature suggests either remarkable consensus among diverse media organizations or coordinated information operations that exploit existing media infrastructure for narrative management purposes. Social media monitoring reveals artificial amplification of specific content types related to unusual phenomena through bot networks and algorithmic manipulation that creates appearance of organic viral spread while actually representing coordinated information warfare targeting public consciousness. The amplification patterns suggest sophisticated psychological operations that exploit social media architecture for mass influence objectives. The artificial amplification focuses on content that promotes specific interpretation frameworks while suppressing alternative explanations that might interfere with desired psychological conditioning effects. The selective promotion indicates either market-driven content optimization or systematic narrative management that requires precise control over information flows affecting public perception and belief formation processes. Content creators reporting on unusual phenomena describe platform restrictions and algorithmic limitations that affect their ability to reach audiences, followed by sudden promotional boosts that dramatically increase viewership without explanation. The manipulation patterns suggest centralized control over information distribution that can suppress or amplify specific narratives according to timing requirements for psychological conditioning programs. The platform behavior affects creators across multiple social media systems simultaneously, indicating either coordinated corporate policies or external influence that shapes content distribution policies across competing platforms. The coordination suggests either regulatory pressure or technological capabilities that can influence algorithmic behavior across independent corporate systems. Information warfare analysis reveals sophisticated campaigns designed to shape public perception about unusual phenomena through coordinated messaging across multiple platforms and media channels. The campaigns use advanced psychological manipulation techniques, including emotional conditioning, narrative priming, and belief system targeting, that exploit human cognitive vulnerabilities for social influence objectives. The campaign coordination requires resources and expertise that exceed capabilities of typical commercial marketing operations or grassroots social movements, suggesting either governmental psychological operations or private sector influence campaigns funded by organizations with significant strategic interests in shaping public consciousness about phenomena that challenge conventional reality frameworks. The psychological manipulation techniques incorporate research findings from cognitive science, social psychology, and neuroscience that aren't widely available outside specialized academic and intelligence communities. The sophisticated application suggests either academic involvement in influence operations or intelligence community resources being applied to civilian population influence objectives. The influence operations target specific demographic groups using tailored messaging that exploits individual psychological profiles derived from social media data collection and behavioral analysis. The personalization level indicates access to comprehensive surveillance systems that monitor individual behavior patterns for psychological manipulation purposes that exceed commercial advertising applications. Data collection operations have intensified surveillance of individuals showing interest in unusual phenomena, creating comprehensive profiles that track online behavior, social connections, geographic movements, and purchasing patterns. The surveillance scope indicates either commercial data harvesting or intelligence operations that monitor civilian populations for purposes that remain officially unacknowledged. The data collection focuses on individuals who express skepticism about official explanations, while also targeting those who promote alternative interpretation frameworks. The dual targeting suggests either comprehensive monitoring of all perspectives or sophisticated psychological profiling that identifies individuals who might influence public opinion formation processes during periods of social uncertainty. Behavioral modification programs appear to be testing response patterns to unusual phenomena through controlled information exposure and social influence techniques that measure individual and group psychological reactions to different narrative frameworks and evidence presentations. The testing suggests either academic research or operational preparation for large-scale psychological manipulation campaigns. The behavioral testing uses sophisticated experimental designs that isolate specific psychological variables while maintaining subject ignorance about participation in research programs. The methodology indicates either advanced academic research or intelligence community psychological operations that exploit civilian populations for testing purposes without informed consent or ethical oversight. The convergence of technological capabilities, institutional coordination, and systematic population preparation creates conditions optimal for implementing psychological operations that could achieve social transformation objectives through apparently supernatural experiences that exploit prepared belief systems and advanced deception technologies operating below conscious detection thresholds. The preparation phases have created global populations conditioned to accept extraordinary explanations for unusual phenomena, while institutional infrastructures have demonstrated coordination capabilities sufficient for implementing complex operations requiring international cooperation and precise timing across multiple domains of technological and psychological manipulation. As October approaches and astronomical conditions create natural information blackout periods that provide cover for activities requiring concealment from observation, the systematic preparation appears to be reaching completion stages that suggest either coincidental convergence of unrelated developments or coordinated implementation of the most sophisticated deception operation in human history. The next few weeks will determine whether humanity faces technological deception or hybrid genuine contact with cosmic intelligence, advanced scenarios that combine authentic phenomena with artificial manipulation in ways that make distinguishing reality from orchestrated experience impossible through conventional analytical methods available to general populations lacking specialized knowledge and institutional access. What unfolds may permanently alter human civilization's relationship with truth, reality, and cosmic consciousness in ways that either expand our understanding of universe's true nature or demonstrate the effectiveness of advanced psychological operations that can reshape social reality through technological manipulation of perception itself. The final test is about to begin, and the outcome will determine whether we emerge with expanded cosmic awareness or find ourselves living in carefully constructed illusions designed to serve purposes we cannot yet comprehend but will soon experience as our new reality. The psychological architecture underlying all of this runs deeper than most people realize. We're not just talking about isolated incidents or random coincidences anymore. The human mind processes information through pattern recognition systems that evolved over millions of years to detect meaningful connections in complex environments. When multiple extraordinary phenomena cluster within compressed time frames, these ancient neural networks activate regardless of our rational skepticism or scientific training. Consider how your brain responded when you first heard about 3I/ATLAS racing toward our solar system while mysterious drones filled American skies. That immediate sense of significance, that feeling that something bigger was unfolding, represents evolutionary psychology in action. The same cognitive mechanisms that helped our ancestors survive by recognizing subtle correlations between environmental changes and potential threats now operate in information environments where authentic mysteries intersect with deliberate narrative manipulation. The feedback loops become self-reinforcing in ways that make objective analysis increasingly difficult. Media attention generates more reports, which produce additional documentation, which drives further attention in cascading cycles that amplify both genuine phenomena and artificial content designed to exploit existing interest patterns. Professional verification systems get overwhelmed by volume and complexity, while speculative interpretations develop faster than authoritative analysis can provide competing explanations. This creates temporal windows during which alternative explanation frameworks gain psychological credibility before conventional science can offer mundane interpretations. The delay isn't accidental. It represents a fundamental vulnerability in how democratic societies process unprecedented information when institutional authorities acknowledge limitations rather than providing definitive answers that satisfy human psychological needs for certainty and control. Project Bluebeam theory exploits this vulnerability by offering comprehensive narratives that connect technological capabilities with political motivations and spiritual concerns. The framework explains current mysteries while predicting future developments in ways that feel more psychologically satisfying than official admissions of ignorance about phenomena that challenge conventional understanding. The theory's resilience across 3 decades demonstrates its effectiveness as a belief system that adapts to new evidence while maintaining core structural elements that resist conventional refutation. Originally focused on holographic projections and religious manipulation, modern versions incorporate artificial intelligence, satellite networks, social media influence operations, and advanced aerospace technologies that have progressed from science fiction speculation to operational reality. Contemporary believers point to actual technological developments that make previously impossible deceptions theoretically feasible. The infrastructure exists. The coordination mechanisms have been demonstrated through international scientific collaboration. The psychological preparation has conditioned global populations through decades of gradual exposure to increasingly unusual phenomena that expand acceptance boundaries for extraordinary explanations. But here's where the analysis becomes genuinely unsettling. The same pattern of seeking extraordinary explanations for unusual phenomena affects both conspiracy theorists and legitimate researchers like Avi Loeb. The difference lies not in willingness to consider unconventional possibilities, but in standards of evidence required to support extraordinary claims and institutional pressures that shape how those claims get presented to scientific communities and general audiences. Loeb's suggestions about 3I/ATLAS being potentially artificial represent speculative hypothesis generation rather than definitive conclusions. His calculations identify genuine anomalies that deserve investigation, even if his preferred explanations extend beyond what most colleagues consider scientifically justified. The controversy surrounding his work reflects broader tensions within academic institutions about balancing open-minded inquiry with rigorous skepticism. Yet the hostile response from established astronomers creates its own problems. When mainstream scientists dismiss anomalous observations through ridicule rather than systematic investigation, they inadvertently strengthen alternative explanation frameworks by appearing to suppress inconvenient evidence. The dismissive approach feeds conspiracy theories about institutional cover-ups, while failing to address legitimate scientific questions raised by unusual data. The polarization becomes self-perpetuating. Researchers who acknowledge anomalies face professional pressure to conform to conservative interpretations. Those who persist in exploring unconventional explanations get marginalized from mainstream academic discourse. The exclusion process creates alternative intellectual communities that develop their own publication channels, peer review systems, and theoretical frameworks operating outside institutional oversight. These alternative scientific communities often produce sophisticated analyses that identify genuine problems with conventional explanations, while proposing solutions that range from plausible to wildly speculative. The mixed quality makes evaluation difficult for general audiences who lack specialized knowledge to distinguish legitimate research from elaborate pseudoscience disguised as academic inquiry. The information environment becomes further complicated by deliberate disinformation campaigns designed to exploit public confusion about complex phenomena. Professional psychological operations can introduce false evidence, manipulate existing data, and coordinate narrative campaigns that make distinguishing authentic research from artificial manipulation impossible through conventional analytical methods. The result is epistemic warfare that attacks knowledge systems themselves rather than promoting specific false beliefs. If populations lose confidence in institutional information sources, while becoming convinced that hidden actors possess secret knowledge about reality's true nature, social control becomes possible through information dependency rather than physical coercion. This represents a more sophisticated approach to social influence than traditional propaganda. Instead of telling people what to believe, the system creates conditions where target populations naturally develop desired beliefs through their own analytical processes. The manipulation operates through environmental design rather than direct messaging, making detection and resistance far more difficult. The current convergence of authentic anomalies with persistent conspiracy theories creates optimal testing conditions for such advanced influence techniques. Real mysteries provide credibility anchors for extraordinary explanations, while technological capabilities enable convincing simulations of phenomena that support desired interpretation frameworks. The astronomical timing adds another layer of complexity. 3. I/ATLAS disappears behind solar conjunction during late October, creating natural information blackout conditions that prevent ground-based observation during the period when space weather activity peaks. and seasonal psychological factors make populations most susceptible to supernatural interpretations of unusual events. The observation gap will be filled with speculation, computer models, and indirect evidence that can support multiple interpretation frameworks depending on analytical assumptions and theoretical predispositions. Scientists will present cautious analyses, acknowledging uncertainty. Conspiracy theorists will offer definitive explanations that promise hidden knowledge about cosmic significance and government deception. The competing narratives will battle for psychological credibility in information environments where emotional resonance often matters more than empirical accuracy. Stories that provide meaning, purpose, and clear explanations for confusing events naturally attract larger audiences than technical analyses that emphasize uncertainty and methodological limitations. Social media algorithms amplify emotionally engaging content regardless of factual accuracy, creating viral distribution mechanisms that favor compelling narratives over careful analysis. The technological architecture of modern information systems inadvertently promotes psychological manipulation while hindering objective assessment of complex phenomena requiring specialized knowledge and sustained attention. The drone situation will likely evolve similarly. Official explanations may emerge that provide conventional interpretations for reported phenomena, but those explanations will compete with alternative frameworks that offer more psychologically satisfying accounts of government secrecy and hidden technological capabilities. The pattern reflects broader challenges facing democratic societies in an era where information warfare capabilities have evolved far beyond traditional propaganda into sophisticated systems that can alter perception of reality itself through technological manipulation of information flows and social influence processes operating below conscious awareness. What makes this particularly concerning is that the same technologies and organizational structures currently being used for legitimate scientific research could theoretically be repurposed for large-scale deception operations without requiring additional infrastructure or personnel, beyond those already operational for collaborative international programs. The satellite networks monitoring 3I/ATLAS from multiple vantage points throughout the solar system demonstrate coordination capabilities that could support global-scale psychological operations. The atmospheric research facilities detecting unusual ionization patterns could provide environmental modification capabilities for advanced holographic systems. The international space agencies, adjusting mission parameters, could coordinate technological demonstrations requiring precise timing and positioning. The infrastructure exists. The coordination mechanisms work. The psychological preparation has been completed. The question becomes whether institutional actors possess motivation sufficient to deploy these capabilities for deception purposes, or whether we're witnessing genuine cosmic phenomena that challenge fundamental assumptions about humanity's place in a universe far stranger than current scientific paradigms acknowledge. The approaching convergence will test both possibilities simultaneously. If extraordinary revelations emerge during the October timeframe, we'll need to distinguish authentic cosmic contact from sophisticated technological deception using analytical methods that may be inadequate for making such distinctions when advanced systems can simulate any desired phenomena with sufficient sophistication to fool even expert analysis. The stakes extend beyond academic curiosity into reality and belief. Fundamental questions about truth in complex societies, where the line between authentic mystery and artificial manipulation has become impossible to distinguish through conventional methods available to general populations, lacking specialized knowledge and institutional access. We're approaching a moment that may permanently alter human civilization's relationship with cosmic consciousness, either through genuine contact with intelligence beyond our current understanding, or through demonstration of deception capabilities so advanced that they can reshape social reality through technological manipulation of perception itself. The outcome will determine whether we emerge with expanded awareness of universe's true nature, or find ourselves living within carefully constructed illusions designed to serve purposes we cannot yet comprehend. but will soon experience as our new normal. The convergence isn't just about cosmic visitors and mysterious aircraft anymore. It's about the fundamental nature of reality in an age where technology has progressed to the point where distinguishing authentic phenomena from artificial simulation may be impossible, and where the very question of what constitutes truth becomes the battlefield on which our future will be determined. The final phase has begun, and nothing will ever be quite the same again. The only question remaining is whether we'll recognize the difference when the transformation is complete, or whether recognition itself will become another casualty in the war between reality and perception that may already be more advanced than most of us dare to imagine. The final countdown has begun, and the signs are everywhere if you know where to look. Intelligence analysts working with classified astronomical data have reportedly detected what they describe as controlled trajectory modifications in 3I/ATLAS that don't match any known natural phenomena. The object appears to be making micro-adjustments to its path that keep it precisely aligned with optimal observation windows, while maintaining the appearance of natural orbital mechanics. These modifications require energy expenditure and navigation capabilities that exceed anything we've observed from previous interstellar visitors. The corrections occur at moments that suggest either remarkable coincidence or deliberate timing, designed to maximize scientific interest, while avoiding definitive characterization that might resolve questions about artificial versus natural origins. Satellite tracking systems have identified debris fields trailing behind 3I/ATLAS that exhibit unusual electromagnetic properties. Instead of the random dust and ice particles typical of natural comets, these trailing materials appear to maintain organized formations that resist dispersal through normal solar wind pressure and radiation effects. The organized debris suggests either exotic ice chemistry that creates unexpected cohesion effects, or deliberate deployment of materials designed to create specific electromagnetic signatures detectable by Earth-based monitoring systems. The signatures occur in frequency ranges that could support advanced communication protocols while maintaining plausible deniability through apparent natural generation. Deep space monitoring networks have detected periodic radio bursts originating from 3I/ATLAS direction that follow mathematical sequences resembling prime number progressions and geometric patterns. The signals remain too weak for definitive decoding, but exhibit characteristics that suggest either natural phenomena involving complex plasma physics or intentional transmission using protocols designed to appear naturally generated. The mathematical patterns embedded in these signals represent the kind of structured information that would indicate artificial intelligence while remaining ambiguous enough to support conventional explanations involving rotational magnetic field interactions or unusual solar wind coupling effects that could theoretically produce similar emission characteristics. Professional radio astronomers have begun coordinating observation campaigns specifically designed to capture and analyze these periodic emissions using arrays of telescopes positioned across multiple continents. The international collaboration demonstrates unprecedented cooperation between institutions that normally compete for observation time and research priorities. The coordination level suggests either genuine scientific excitement about studying potential extraterrestrial communication or systematic preparation for documenting phenomena that require comprehensive analysis across multiple observation platforms. The unified response indicates organizational capabilities that could support large-scale information management operations if needed for alternative purposes. Meanwhile, atmospheric monitoring stations have detected unusual chemical signatures in regions where drone sightings occur most frequently. The atmospheric anomalies include elevated concentrations of rare earth elements and exotic isotopes that don't occur naturally in Earth's atmosphere, but could result from advanced propulsion systems or atmospheric manipulation technologies. The chemical signatures appear at altitudes corresponding to reported aerial phenomena, while remaining below concentrations that would trigger automatic environmental protection responses. The careful calibration suggests either natural processes that coincidentally avoid detection thresholds or technological systems designed to operate within parameters that minimize official attention. Environmental protection agencies have quietly initiated expanded monitoring programs in affected regions without public announcement or explanation. The monitoring expansion includes deployment of specialized equipment designed to detect electromagnetic emissions, atmospheric chemical changes, and ground-based vibration patterns that could indicate advanced technological operations. The expanded surveillance occurs without corresponding public safety warnings or environmental hazard alerts that would normally accompany such monitoring increases. The absence of public notification suggests either preliminary investigation of uncertain phenomena or coordinated information management that maintains operational security about activities requiring environmental monitoring. Aerospace industry insiders report accelerated development programs for technologies that match characteristics observed in unexplained aerial phenomena. The development timeline suggests either responsive engineering based on observed capabilities or coordinated technology deployment that requires industrial preparation for operational implementation. Patent applications have increased dramatically for atmospheric manipulation systems, electromagnetic propulsion devices, and holographic projection technologies that could create convincing simulations of extraordinary aerial activity. The patent filings describe specific approaches to achieving flight characteristics and visual effects that match reported anomalous phenomena with remarkable precision. The correlation between patent activity and observed phenomena suggests either reverse engineering efforts based on documented capabilities or protective intellectual property strategies for technologies already under development for systematic deployment. The timing indicates either remarkable innovation speed or coordinated preparation for revealing capabilities that require patent protection before public demonstration. Manufacturing facilities have reportedly increased production of specialized components that could support atmospheric projection systems, electromagnetic field manipulation devices, and advanced propulsion technologies. The production increases occur without corresponding commercial demand that would justify expanded manufacturing capacity for experimental systems lacking established markets. Supply chain analysis reveals coordinated procurement of materials across multiple countries and industries in patterns that suggest either distributed development programs or international cooperation supporting large-scale technological deployment. The procurement activities avoid single-source acquisition that might reveal operational purposes while maintaining plausible commercial explanations for individual transactions. Financial markets show trading patterns that indicate informed speculation about technological developments related to observed phenomena. The trading activity affects specific sectors, including aerospace, defense, rare earth minerals, and advanced electronics, while avoiding other areas that would normally respond to general uncertainty conditions. The selective market activity suggests either sophisticated analysis of technological implications or coordinated investment strategies that exploit public attention to unusual events for profit generation while potentially preparing for market impacts from technology revelations that haven't been publicly acknowledged. Corporate research and development budgets have shifted dramatically toward projects related to atmospheric manipulation, electromagnetic field generation, and advanced display technologies during the same period when unusual phenomena have intensified. The budget reallocations suggest either responsive development to observed capabilities or coordinated preparation for operational requirements. Research institutions have received increased funding for programs studying atmospheric physics, electromagnetic phenomena, and advanced propulsion systems from sources that include both governmental agencies and private organizations with strategic interests in relevant technologies. The funding patterns suggest systematic preparation for developments that require academic research infrastructure. International scientific conferences have added emergency sessions focused on atmospheric manipulation technologies and electromagnetic field effects without corresponding increases in published research that would normally justify expanded conference programming. The conference editions suggest either anticipatory planning for emerging revelations or coordinated academic preparation for developments requiring professional community readiness. Educational institutions have begun curriculum modifications that prepare students for technological developments in atmospheric manipulation and electromagnetic field applications, despite official positions that such technologies remain experimental or theoretical. The educational changes suggest systematic workforce preparation for operational programs requiring specialized technical knowledge. Media coverage coordination has become increasingly sophisticated, with editorial decisions across multiple news organizations creating consistent messaging frameworks that guide public interpretation towards specific conclusions about unusual phenomena. The coordination appears in story placement, expert selection, and emphasis patterns that collectively shape desired psychological impacts. The media coordination requires resources and expertise that exceed typical commercial news operation capabilities, suggesting either remarkable consensus among diverse journalistic organizations or coordinated information management that exploits existing media infrastructure for narrative control purposes that serve broader strategic objectives. Social media monitoring reveals artificial amplification of specific content types related to unusual phenomena through bot networks and algorithmic manipulation that creates appearance of organic viral spread while representing coordinated influence operations targeting public consciousness through sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques. Content creators report platform restrictions followed by promotional boosts that dramatically increase viewership according to timing requirements that suggest centralized control over information distribution. The manipulation affects multiple platforms simultaneously, indicating either coordinated corporate policies or external influence capabilities that shape algorithmic behavior across competing systems. Intelligence agencies have reportedly detected unusual data transmission patterns using satellite networks during periods of peak unusual activity. The transmissions employ advanced encryption methods while following distribution patterns that suggest coordination between multiple operational centers located across different geographic regions and possibly different countries. Cybersecurity experts report intrusion attempts targeting databases containing information about atmospheric research, astronomical observations, and underground monitoring systems. The hacking patterns focus on specific data types related to current phenomena, while avoiding other classified information that would normally attract intelligence-gathering operations. The selective targeting suggests either focused research interests or coordinated information collection, supporting operations that require detailed knowledge about ongoing atmospheric, geological, and astronomical conditions affecting operational parameters for activities that remain officially unacknowledged. Government agencies continue providing information that acknowledges unusual phenomena while disclaiming knowledge of sources, creating information environments where alternative explanation frameworks face reduced competition from authoritative interpretations, while conspiracy theories gain credibility through institutional silence that suggests hidden knowledge. Military installations report equipment malfunctions and communication disruptions that correlate with astronomical events and unusual aerial activity. The interference patterns affect specific systems while leaving others operational, suggesting either selective natural electromagnetic effects or targeted technological interference designed to limit institutional response capabilities. The systematic nature of these disruptions implies either remarkable coincidence or coordinated technological warfare that understands military communication protocols and can selectively disable particular capabilities while maintaining plausible deniability through apparent randomness that masks deliberate interference patterns. Underground monitoring facilities have detected structural modifications in deep geological formations that suggest either accelerated natural erosion processes or deliberate construction using technologies that can alter rock formations without generating detectable surface disturbances or conventional excavation signatures. The underground anomalies connect to surface locations where electromagnetic phenomena occur, indicating integrated systems spanning multiple depth levels, while maintaining operational coordination between buried infrastructure and atmospheric manipulation technologies that operate through combined surface and subsurface capabilities. Archaeological discoveries continue emerging from sites affected by recent seismic activity, revealing artifacts that challenge historical timelines while displaying technological sophistication that exceeds acknowledged ancient capabilities. The discoveries include materials with isotopic ratios indicating either extraterrestrial origins or advanced manufacturing techniques that can simulate alien signatures. The timing of these archaeological revelations coincides perfectly with astronomical and atmospheric phenomena in ways that either represent remarkable coincidence or systematic coordination between terrestrial operations and cosmic events that suggests planning capabilities exceeding officially acknowledged organizational resources. Religious communities worldwide interpret current events through eschatological frameworks that see prophetic significance in the convergence of cosmic visitors, mysterious aerial displays, and archaeological discoveries that challenge established historical narratives. The cross-cultural convergence creates interpretive frameworks that could absorb extraordinary revelations without completely destabilizing existing belief systems. The psychological preparation has created optimal conditions for accepting explanations that would have been rejected by populations not subjected to systematic conditioning through repeated exposure to anomalous events that gradually normalize extraordinary possibilities while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid triggering premature skepticism or resistance responses. As October approaches and astronomical conditions create information blackout periods that provide natural cover for activities requiring concealment from observation, multiple streams of unusual phenomena are converging in ways that suggest either unprecedented coincidence or the culmination of systematic preparation phases designed to achieve specific psychological and social transformation objectives. The next few weeks will determine whether humanity faces genuine contact with cosmic intelligence, sophisticated technological deception, or hybrid scenarios combining authentic phenomena with artificial manipulation in ways that make distinguishing reality from orchestrated experience impossible through conventional analytical methods available to general populations. What emerges from this convergence may permanently alter human civilization's relationship with truth, reality, and cosmic consciousness in ways that either expand our understanding of the universe's true nature or demonstrate the effectiveness of advanced psychological operations capable of reshaping social reality through technological manipulation of perception itself. The final phase has begun, and the outcome will determine whether we emerge with expanded cosmic awareness or find ourselves living within carefully constructed illusions designed to serve purposes we cannot yet comprehend but will soon experience as our new reality. The transformation is no longer approaching. It has already begun, and recognition of that fact may be the last clear thought we have before crossing into whatever lies beyond the boundary between the world we thought we knew and the one we're about to discover was always hidden just beneath the surface of our carefully managed perceptions. The monitoring systems that track our planet's electromagnetic field have begun registering fluctuations that follow patterns nobody wants to discuss publicly. These aren't the random variations that characterize normal geomagnetic activity. Instead, they pulse in sequences that suggest external modulation from sources operating on frequencies that shouldn't exist in nature. The data streams from magnetometer stations across 6 continents show synchronized anomalies occurring during precise time windows that correlate with both astronomical events and reported aerial phenomena. The synchronization spans distances that make coincidental electromagnetic coupling impossible through known physical processes, yet the correlations persist with statistical significance that exceeds random probability by orders of magnitude. Deep underground research facilities equipped with isolation chambers designed to eliminate external electromagnetic interference have detected these same pulse signals penetrating through hundreds of meters of solid rock and Faraday cage shielding. The penetration capabilities suggest either exotic physics involving previously unknown electromagnetic properties or technological systems operating through transmission methods that bypass conventional electromagnetic shielding entirely. The signal characteristics include embedded mathematical progressions that resemble artificial encoding rather than natural electromagnetic phenomena. The mathematical structures follow geometric sequences and prime number progressions that occur in nature only under extremely specific conditions that don't match current geophysical or space weather parameters affecting Earth's electromagnetic environment. Scientists working with classified electromagnetic monitoring equipment report detection of what they describe as carrier waves that appear to transport information using modulation techniques not found in natural electromagnetic processes. The carrier frequencies operate in spectral ranges that interfere with specific types of electronic equipment while leaving others completely unaffected. The selective interference patterns suggest either remarkable coincidence in natural electromagnetic effects or deliberately designed transmission systems that understand the operating parameters of human technology and can target specific electronic systems while avoiding detection by standard monitoring equipment not configured to recognize artificial signal characteristics. Atmospheric scientists have identified ionization patterns in the upper atmosphere that don't match typical solar-wind interactions or cosmic ray bombardment effects. These ionization zones appear to maintain stable configurations over extended periods while exhibiting internal structure that suggests organized plasma formations rather than random electromagnetic disturbances. The organized plasma displays occur at altitudes where natural ionization typically dissipates rapidly due to atmospheric pressure and electromagnetic field interactions. The persistence of these formations implies either unknown atmospheric physics or artificial maintenance through external energy input that sustains organized plasma structures against natural dissipation processes. Radio telescope arrays have begun detecting coherent electromagnetic emissions from these ionized atmospheric regions using frequency analysis techniques that reveal embedded information structures within apparently random electromagnetic noise. The embedded patterns suggest either exotic natural phenomena involving complex plasma physics or artificial signal generation using atmospheric plasma formations as transmission media. The information structures within these atmospheric emissions follow organizational patterns that resemble digital communication protocols rather than the random fluctuations typical of natural plasma phenomena. The organizational complexity suggests either previously unknown natural processes that create information-like structures or technological systems that use atmospheric plasma as a medium for long-distance communication. So here we stand at the threshold of October, watching multiple impossible phenomena converge with mathematical precision that defies every probability model we can construct. An interstellar visitor exhibiting controlled trajectory modifications. Atmospheric plasma formations carrying embedded information structures. Electromagnetic signals penetrating underground isolation chambers. Archaeological discoveries emerging from seismically disturbed sites with isotopic signatures that don't match terrestrial formation processes. Either we're witnessing the most extraordinary coincidence in recorded human history, or we're participants in something far more orchestrated than our current understanding of reality allows us to comprehend. The evidence points towards systematic coordination between cosmic phenomena and terrestrial operations that would require planning capabilities and technological sophistication exceeding anything officially acknowledged by any institution on Earth. The psychological preparation has been methodical. The technological infrastructure exists. The international coordination mechanisms are operational. And now, as 3I/ATLAS disappears behind solar conjunction during peak space weather conditions and seasonal psychological vulnerability, we approach the moment when speculation transforms into experience. Whether that experience involves genuine contact with cosmic intelligence, sophisticated technological deception, or something that transcends both categories entirely, one thing remains certain. The transformation is no longer approaching. It has already begun, and the October convergence may be humanity's last chance to distinguish between authentic cosmic revelation and the most sophisticated psychological operation ever conceived. The final phase has commenced, and nothing will ever be the same again. Ever conceived. The final phase has commenced, and nothing will ever be the same again.